All right. Can you see and hear me right now, chat? Let me know. Hopefully that did it. Anything? No? Uh-oh. All right, what's going on? Audio and video. Excellent. Thank you, Lenina. Brilliant. Well, hello, everybody. What's shaking? It's good to have you here. This is two of our already on day 2. Pretty exciting. So, hang on. So what's going on? No, it looks like over here. Maybe if I go a little bit closer to the dish, it'll behave a little bit better. We are broadcasting live via satellite because we are way out here in the middle of nowhere in eastern Utah. And yeah, I don't know. It's a privilege to be able to do these streams, but there will be technical difficulties. It just comes with the territory. So there's the satellite dish there, solar battery and solar panels. We are fairly self-reliant out here. Yeah. And back. Okay. Good. Anywho, I set up the dish on top of this pole. I'm gonna have to get the pole extender for tomorrow's stream. Yeah, it's not the most heavy-duty piece of equipment. The Wi-Fi radio in that is not the strongest, so you do have to kind of stay close to the dish. But yeah. Anywho, good stuff.
I said I can do it.
Welcome, everybody.
I spend 8 hours a day.
You can see that we've got the shade tarp set up here. We just got this set up this morning, so it's making things significantly cooler under there. And we've got bones coming out all over the place, as I'll show you. Anyway, we still good? Can you still see and hear me right now? Let me switch to this app and see if... There we go. Yeah, we're still good. Excellent. Good. Let me get some water real quick, too. We just got back from lunch, which is why I'm a little bit late. We're still kind of setting things up here. This is just day 2 of our dig. I'm going to be out here for a short span this time around, just 2 weeks. This is day 2. I think it'll be 11 streams total, actually. So this is number 2 of 11. And, yeah. 2 peanut butter sandwiches for lunch. And that has had the desired effect of making me very thirsty, making sure I stay hydrated out here. So let's drink some water. Yeah. Anywho, if anybody happens to have any questions at all, do not hesitate to ask. That's the whole point of doing these streams, is trying to make science accessible to anybody who cares to watch. So, I'm glad you could join us. Let's go down into the quarry and see what's going on here. There we go. So we've got brand new tarps, which we're excited about. Shout out to Uncle Don DeBlue, for pioneering this whole system of shade tarps like this that we use. This is good stuff, and kind of essential for staying cool out here in the wilderness. Go on into the quarry and take a peek. Yeah. So like I said, we've got everywhere. This is what it's going to be like for the next 2 weeks. We've got bone here. We've got an armor plate and osteoderm right here. We've got what looks like either a little phalanx or a tiny little maybe caudal vertebra right here. Looks more like a phalanx though, more like a toe bone. Yeah, nice vert. Yeah, right there. Nice caudal right. Might be. Right here. So, yeah. This stuff is everywhere. And expedition lead here, up and everything. Oh yeah. So before we remove any of these bones and collect anything, we've got to make sure everything's all mapped, make sure we collect our data, all that good stuff. So,
yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Gotta make science happen.
Filling out a specimen card right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is the difference between a legitimate scientific dig and, you know, treasure hunting. We're making sure that we're collecting all of these data because the whole point is to be able to figure out what's going on in this situation here. Why do we have so many armored dinosaurs all in the same place? What can that tell us about this ancient environment? All that good stuff. So, yeah.
Don't do it. Don't say it.
But I want. Alright.
Can we take a peek maybe at one of the maps from a previous year just to see the density of bone here? Because I'm sure that's going to be impressive.
Let's see. Let me find the densest one.
Appreciate you letting us interrupt you, Josh.
Oh, of course. I'd rather do this than actual data management.
This is not the most fun part of the job, but it is really important.
It is what we have to do. Oh, this is good.
Holy cow, look at that. So each one of these is a different bone?
Yeah, so that's 1 meter by 1 meter, so 3 foot by 3 foot roughly. And then those are the bones that were big enough to.
It's not including osteoderms, not including the little armor.
Yeah, just some of the bigger osteoderms, but smaller ones in between. Yeah, it was.
Shoot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Crazy. If you were to make a guess, like how many bones, mappable bones, per square meter here?
Well, so we've been keeping track of them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, they're all out of order. So there's about 15, 16, 20, so 30, 40. So in about 2 square meters, 40 to 50 bones.
Okay.
But we pulled out a jacket last year that was most of the time we're trying to get individual bones out, but we're a larger jacket, maybe a meter, including all the osteoderms and everything.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, hopefully that gives you some idea of what we're working with out here. Pretty crazy. Hey, let me make sure that we're still live. I'm not seeing anything in the chat after that prime sub from Kodali. Oh, we're good? Okay. Chat's just really quiet today. It's spooking me. I keep thinking that we've lost connection or something. Nobody's saying anything. But yeah, gives you some idea of what we're working with here. And yeah, let's take a look over here too, just to kind of start us off for today. Some visual aids. Here we go. Here is our critter, Gastonia. This is Gastonia bird's-eye. Ours is a slightly different species. Presumably a bit spikier than this. And I don't know why this guy doesn't have long spines coming off the top off the dorsal side. But anyway, big, well, medium-sized armored dinosaur. This guy's about 5 meters long, about 15, 16 feet, something like that. It's a really cool critter. One of the spikiest dinosaurs of all time. And I've got in here a little model to show you. I'll be breaking this out when we get raids and stuff like that, just to show new folks what kind of dinosaur we're talking about here. But there we go. This is Gastonia. Very spiky, plant-eating dinosaur. Heavily armored. Not the sort of critter you want to tussle with. And yet we've got a whole bunch of individuals from here. At least 40 from this site. And when I say at least, it's almost certainly much, much, much more than that. Hundreds, possibly 1,000 animals. We don't really know. But we do have an idea that this bone bed extends from here all the way across about 2 meters here. So from right here down to that little bluff over there seems to be where this ends potentially, but it might go even further. This is a site that you could work for a century or two and still not find everything. We're lucky to be here, you know? It's a cool site. Yeah, I miss postcard guest. This is way better than the postcard one. Oh, and Paleostream says, "Hi, Michael. If you were there, let me go get Michael on camera."
Do you think that she's like so? I don't remember what it was. Oh, I asked about her kid, and then I only hardly listened, and then I took the chance to like talk to Josh.
Hey, Michael.
And then I felt
Guess who's saying hello right now?
Who's that?
It's Yoshua Knupe.
Of course he is. Howdy, Yosh.
A Paleo stream. Yeah. He asks how you're doing.
Doing good, doing good. We're uncovering bones. That's what you like to see.
And we've got, oh, holy cow, Short Moronic Brontothere, the Morrison Man, Armin Capros, a whole bunch of people saying hello to Michael.
Howdy, all.
They're all just saying Michael in all caps. Like 6 people so far. You do have some fans. This is awesome. But fantastic. Let's go take a look around the quarry real quick. And the signal might get a little spotty. I really need to move the dish closer to the edge of the quarry, I'm realizing. All of this stuff is an iterative process, you live and learn, you figure things out, it gets better each day.
Yeah, so
But anyway, we're going to lose direct line of sight, but that'll be okay.
The specimen number, so field number, it says LS.
There we go.
So I think I was going to keep continuous numbers, but that's insane. So we're going to go LS 25-01.
So, let's see, can I bother you for a second, Michael?
Yeah, go for
For
it.
the sake of your fans?
What's
What
up?
are you working on over here?
Currently working through the edge of the bone layer. I've got what looks to be a broken up rib and a piece of limb bone here.
Nice.
A few other bits and bobs laying around. Just kind of moving. The bone layer is going to get a bit more dense.
Nice.
Kind of keeping track of the micro level geology as I go.
Okay.
Right. Because you're trying to figure out the taphonomy of the site. That's the whole idea, I suppose.
Yeah, that is, well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
exciting. Not to give away any spoilers or anything, but would you be willing to maybe offer a guess as to why we've got so many ankylosaurs here all concentrated in one spot?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not sure yet, is the answer. There are a couple different scenarios that could make sense. Some people have suggested that maybe this was one large herd that died in a single event.
Almost like wildebeest crossing a river or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that. We do know for sure that these animals are not in a river. This is not a channel deposit. This is something in the floodplain.
Right.
We have channel deposits nearby over that way, but we are pretty solidly in a mostly fine-grained, sort of green, silty paleosol deal, basically a fossilized soil, with some interesting pebbles and bits thrown throughout. So we're not in a river, we can say that for sure. We're probably nearby. It is still possible that they all died in some kind of an event, whether that be, overbank flooding, or maybe they were in a more wildebeest style flood and were washed out of the river. It could be exactly the opposite. This could have been, we know the Cedar Mountain was pretty seasonal.
Right.
This could have been a situation of drought stress or some other stressor that killed a lot of animals in one place. It could also possibly be what we call attritional, which basically means that a lot of animals accumulate over some amount of time, not instantaneously. All of those are potentially viable, but we have questions about all of them that, haven't steered us toward one or the other quite yet. If it was attritional, for instance, why is it almost entirely Gastonia?
Right.
If it's attritional, you would expect other animals in the ecosystem to be deposited here. And when we have a few, we've got bits and pieces of, a few other clades of dinosaur, theropods, maybe a sauropod, a few other things. They are vastly, vastly outweighed by the Gastonia.
Right.
And so that's an unanswered question at the moment, is why it's almost not purely Gastonia, but very close. Those kinds of monospecific deposits are what we might expect from an event deposit, where a lot of Gastonia were hanging out and died. But we also know that, so far at least, ankylosaurs historically are not known for being the most social animals.
Right, yeah.
So there's
Dr.
a lot of...
Dinosaurus in the chat's just asking about that. I always figured they're isolated, like ankylosaurs. I don't think of them as being super social.
Typically, no.
Yeah.
But Gastonia seems to be one of the exceptions, because we do find a few other places in the Cedar Mountain where there are more than one, and I believe there is an ankylosaur site in, I think, Turkey, where there are a good few of them. But as far as ankylosaur sites go in the world, this is pretty unique.
Right.
So, long story short, we don't know yet. My bet so far, just loosely based on what I'm seeing so far, is that regardless of how they died, a lot of ankylosaurs ended up on a floodplain together, dead, along with a few other animals potentially, and were buried in some sort of overbank flooding, in which a river overflowed its banks, a levee breach, just generally the water levels got too high, something like that, and put a lot of sediment down along the floodplains. We're looking into the specifics of that using the micro-level geology that we're seeing so far.
Nice. Very cool. And I'm really excited to see what you continue to find over the next couple weeks as this picture gets clearer.
Should be exciting.
Yeah, this is cool stuff. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, of
I'll let
course.
you get back to work. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, again, hopefully our signal is holding. I might have to move the dish. We'll see. But, yeah. And, yeah. And quite cool info. It is pretty cool, isn't it? Signal was 1010. That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Yeah, people are just quiet today for whatever reason. It's Sunday? I don't know. But, yeah. So Michael is currently getting his PhD, and taphonomy is his big thing. It's great to have him here at this site because it is such a weird assemblage of animals. They're just so many things preserved in the same place and mostly the same species. That's bizarre. So what's the story there? He's the guy to figure it out. This is really cool. So if you continue to watch over the next couple weeks, maybe we'll have some new bits of information that trickle in, and I'll be eager to share those with you. Yeah, dig the storytelling. Yeah, Heels. I mean, it would make a lot of sense given that we do, from what I understand, have like evidence for seasonal aridity here. So there was like a wet season and a dry season, and maybe sometimes the dry seasons got really bad. There are examples of animals that will accumulate in a small area during a drought around a watering hole or something. They'll all just gather up there. If that's what was happening here, if there was a really, really bad drought, and these armored dinosaurs are just hanging out together around this water hole as it's drying up, and then eventually they die, well, that A, accumulates them in the same place, which is important, but B, it sets them up in a spot where they could get easily buried when the rains finally come. Because if they come in force, you know, that's going to bring a lot of water in, it's going to move a lot of sediment, and it's going to bury all those dead guys in the same place. So it would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense. But again, it's a good story, but do we have evidence for that? That's what we're trying to gather right now, and that's what Michael's doing. So cool stuff. Yeah. And thank you, who was that there? G cubed, taphonomy, the branch of paleontology that deals with the processes of fossilization. Yeah. Well, taphonomy is basically everything that happens in between the death of the animal or other organism. You have taphonomy for plants too. Between death and discovery, I guess. I think diagenesis counts as taphonomy, like Michael was telling me the other day. So it's basically like, what's the story between when the critter died and then when it gets dug up? Those are taphonomic processes. Transport by water, burial, compression, yeah. The scavenging is another big thing too, before burial, all that stuff, yeah. And holy cow, Fuzzy Hamster and Let Me Caution, thank you so much for your support, really appreciate that. Fuzzy Hamster, thank you for all of those gift subs, brilliant. Thank you for supporting science outreach here on Twitch. I really appreciate that. And I think we do need the Gastonia can. That is a good point there, Claire Burr. Let's celebrate. Excellent. And Red Panda Party, thank you for the 2 months. Little Willow, thank you. Let Me Caution, appreciate you. Excellent. Here. I got a question about Nevada a second ago. I'll talk about that momentarily. But first, here, do our analog alerts here. Here we go. So we've got our Gastonia in a can. There we go. Thank you for all those gift subs. In fact, let's do a second one, shall we? Yeah. There's our Gastonia there on the exterior of the can. Brilliant. Good stuff. We're gonna level 3 hype train. Brilliant. It's lounging. Yeah, there you go, Claire. That's how it fits on the can. I didn't do that illustration, but it's. You need to figure out who actually did that. That's. I really like that Gastonia image. It's probably my favorite one that I found online. And somebody was asking about paleontology in Nevada. I was talking about this a little bit. On my way out here from California, I stopped at the Nevada Art Museum in Reno, and they've got a brilliant paleontology exhibit, a temporary exhibit. Go see it now before it's gone. I think it's closing up January 11th. It's about ichthyosaurs, so these giant marine reptiles that once swam through Nevada when that area was underwater. They're potentially the largest animals that ever lived, some of these super giant ichthyosaurs. Potentially like a blue whale. But incredibly cool animals and an incredibly cool exhibit. I was telling Josh about this earlier at lunch. Lots of fossils, lots of cool stories from different paleontological expeditions to Nevada from 1905 all the way up until 2015. Or 2023, I think, actually, for some of the latest fossils. But yeah, cool fossils, cool artwork, cool photographs, cool stories, really well-designed exhibits. And yeah, there's even I thought one of the coolest parts of this was this series of projectors that project onto the wall an animated series of ichthyosaurs swimming across, life-size. These are whale-sized animals projected up onto the wall, and you really get a sense of scale there. It's pretty phenomenal. It's breathtaking, I'll say. It makes you feel like you're back in the Triassic, and it's a slightly spooky kind of aspect to it, where these things are kind of looming out of the darkness at you. It's hard to describe. You got to go see it for yourself. It's really, really cool. So if you're in Nevada, anywhere near Reno, go check that out. It is super, super cool. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah. And their eyes were huge, Fuzzy Hamster. Yeah. Saw the one near Gabs where they found a ton of them near this old mine. Yeah, that's Berlin Ichthyosaur State Park. I did a stream from there a few years back. Really, really cool. They had the largest eyes of any animal that's ever lived, as far as we know. So they had eyes the size of like a dinner plate. Some of the biggest ones had eyes probably the size of a, I don't know, a suburban tire or something like that. A wheel of a big SUV. These animals had enormous eyes, and they were primarily visual predators, we think. They didn't echolocate. We have no reason to think that they echolocated like modern toothed whales. We think they were entirely visual predators. I'm sure they had a sense of smell as well. But their eyes were how they were tracking prey, eating things like fishes, cephalopods, things like squid, ammonites, and eating things like other ichthyosaurs too. Such cool animals. And I'm going to see about maybe joining a field crew next year to try and dig some of these things up in Nevada. We'll see if that works out. The better to see you with, exactly, Jazzy Cat. Yes, indeed. And Generating Views had a question too. Are you required to dress all Indiana Jones-like to be a paleontologist? Certainly not. No. Everybody's got their own style of dress in the field. Very surplus clothing because it's cheap. It hides dirt really well, and I used to go to surplus stores all the time, so it was easy to get. Yeah, this hat that I have right here, we would call it a digger hat, like an Australian slouch hat. I've had this hat since I was like 16 years old. Here, those share this with you. Don't spread it around though. I'm going to turn 34 later this week. And so I've had this for a while. I've had this at every season in the field. Yeah, it's got to be, depending on how you count it, between 12 and 20 field seasons. I've had this hat with me at every single one of them, so I love this thing. Anywho, not required but is strongly encouraged. Nobody encouraged. Like you wear the clothes that work in the environment that you're in. So I because I tend to dissipate a ton of heat through my legs, and so right there on the horizon. So this is some beautiful country. Just this morning I started reading a classic book about this area called Desert Solitaire by Edward Abbey, and I love it already. I'm one chapter in, and it's set in Arches National Park in the 1960s. The book was published in '68. Yeah, it's good stuff. Shout out to recommending that book. It's nice to read something topical when you're out cool terrain like this. Yeah. And sunsets there are amazing. They can be April 11, yeah. We don't get a ton of cloud cover sometimes, but when we do get clouds, man, the sunsets can be pretty excellent. Yeah. And there you go, Fuzzy Hamster. Yeah, you're in Utah. Oh. Well, I am definitely in Utah right now, and happy to be here. Yeah, let's see. Let me get some more water before we go back into the quarry. And Fuzzy Hamster says, as a paleontologist, how do you protect your skin or avoid heat exhaustion? Well, we use a lot of sunscreen out here. We've got these shade tarps. We just set these up this morning. So this is essential for keeping us cool. And it also has the benefit of providing nice, even lighting on the ground. So you're not getting really harsh shadows and stuff like that when you're working in the quarry, especially under the solid shade tarps. The mesh ones do let a lot of light through, but they also let wind through, which is nice. That's why we have these ones on the side. But yeah, having shadow there, that shade, it makes it easier to see the fossils too, because what we're doing is largely visual. Yeah, apart from keeping us cool, keeping the sun off, preventing us from getting sunburned. There's a whole bunch of different benefits to shade tarps like that. We also drink a lot of water, intended a lot of sodium so that our bodies retain water better, that kind of thing. Speaking of water, let's do some hydration. It's also important just to kind of know your own limits. Make sure you're not working yourself too hard. Take a break if you need to. Stand up and walk around a little bit if you've been sitting for too long. Make sure you work those legs, all kinds of stuff like that, you know? Field work isn't for everybody. Like, not everybody can do this kind of work, which is one of the reasons I think it's so important to try and share this with everybody through live streams like this. But I love doing this. I've been digging up dinosaurs since 2011. I've done that nearly every year since 2011. And this year this will be a new record for me. In the field. Yeah, shoot, but earlier this year I had 2 non-consecutive weeks down in St. George, Utah. And then 1 full month in Wyoming, over 4 weeks there, and then 3 weeks in Doling's Bowl, which is just a few miles in that direction in the Cedar Mountain Formation. That went from mid-July to early August, and now 2 weeks out here. Renfield says that is no dawn tarping. Well, I mean, but and the trucker's hitch. Trucker's hitch isn't easy. And that was immensely helpful earlier today. So, Was proud to help set that stuff up. Quixotic Odyssey says, how's the squashed penny collection going? It's going well. I got one new one on my trip out here this time. Most of the pressed pennies between here and the San Francisco Bay Area I already have. But, well, shoot, I got 4 new ones the other day at the Oakland Zoo before I came out here. And then on my way out, I got 1 new pressed penny with 1 design at the Cabela's in Lehi, Utah. So I snagged that one too. Ever growing. Yeah. Anywho. And Lukai says there's just something rewarding about being out there doing the physical part and finding something new to work with, isn't it? Absolutely, yeah. There's that, there's, you know, just spending time outside in nature, you know. You kind of get better attuned to your surroundings. You more easily notice the different critters that are around you. You're kind of in tune with the sun as it, you know, the rising and setting of the day. Yeah, you're so much more cognizant of when the weather changes and stuff like that. It's, you know, not to be too woo-woo mystical about it, but it's like these are the kind of conditions that, you know, human beings evolved in early in our history. And it's kind of nice to reconnect with that to a certain extent. And to be able to do that and do important scientific work and hang out with people who share your interests. You know, everybody out here is here because they are really interested in fossils and they want to contribute to this science. It's really cool that where everybody's got, they're all pulling toward the same mission, you know. It's nice being part of a team like that. And hang on, did our...
So I'm trying to just take down the front part of it so that when I take down this stuff, I'm not like bearing.
We're good, okay. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the satellite network right now. It's... Yeah. I hope we're not also having a cable issue. If it's stuttering, then chances are that's the satellites and the satellite dish. But if it ever just goes black for a while and there's no sound or audio or anything, it's just solid outage, I might be having a cable issue. I did bring new cables with me, so I could swap those out when I get back to camp. Doesn't feel like a cable. Okay, good. Fuzzy Hamster says, what do you guys eat out there? So that's another thing that's new at this site. We have hot breakfast in the morning. Yeah, Josh made everybody breakfast. It was like bacon and egg sandwiches this morning. I just had some toast. But that's nice. I usually have a protein shake for breakfast, a little shaker bottle. So just whey protein and water. So yeah, hot breakfast. Then here we also break for lunch during the day. So we'll walk back to camp just a little while that way. Maybe got a quarter mile, half mile. And yeah, we'll make ourselves sandwiches. We'll have chips, apples, fruit, stuff like that. Then we'll walk back to camp. That's why I was a little bit late in starting today. We were a little bit late coming back from lunch. And then, yeah, for dinner, last night we had hot dogs. Josh was kind enough to get some veggie dogs for me, which is excellent. Tonight we might have spaghetti or burgers or who knows. Yeah. But it's kind of luxurious having 2 hot meals a day out here. I'm not used to that, but Josh feels that's important. He really enjoys that, so it's certainly nice to have. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. And are the veggie dogs good? Yeah, they were good. I like them. They taste suspiciously like hot dogs, but they were definitely veggie dogs. Yeah. Anywho. And spoiled, no doubt, says Alexander Morrison. I do feel a little spoiled out here, to be honest. Yeah. The first night I just had a cold can of chili, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But we're getting the kitchen stuff all set up properly, so it's been nicer. Yeah. Anywho. And hello, Beguiling Fangs and Zote. Good to have you here. Bordering on glamping, says Nelf. I don't know about that, but no, it is really nice. And I've got a really nice setup in my tent too. I've got a proper cot, and you know, we've got satellite internet, so I can stream here. This is pretty nice, you know. Maybe you have no hot meals. You don't have satellite internet, and maybe you don't even have like a little box to go to the bathroom in. Sometimes it's just you go dig a hole. We've got all those things here, which is really nice. Yeah. Where's the beers at? Back in camp, generating views. In a cooler with ice, actually, believe it or not. Cold beers at the end of the day if we want them. Yeah. And you've done that too? Oh yeah, Fuzzy Hamster. I get that. Yeah. Good stuff. Oh, and here comes Josh now, carrying what looks like a bazooka tube, but no, I'm sure that's something else. Might be something for mapping or something like that. But yeah. Imagine digging a hole and finding a fossil. I've done that before, Javasaurus, yeah. I found a tyrannosaur tooth one time when I was looking for a place to poop. So it happens. That was out in the Judith River Formation. Yeah. Gotta be careful where you squat down. Exactly, especially around here. So earlier when we were setting up some of the shade tarps, Josh almost sat down directly on some cactus here, and glad he didn't. But yeah, in fact, maybe we'll go ask Josh for just a second for his philosophy on camp food, because yeah, can we bother you for a second, Josh?
Bother me anytime.
Appreciate it. We had some folks asking about the food situation in camp.
Oh, heck yeah.
And yeah, you make hot breakfast for us in the morning. I am not used to that kind of thing. What's the reasoning there? I know that's something that's important to you.
Yeah, so I, when I was a grad student, did a lot of field work with Mike Getty. And our philosophy was, you feed people well, they'll work their rear ends off. You know, with a lot of what we do, it's hard not to run on calories. Like, you burn a lot of calories if you're prospecting, if you're throwing a pick and shovel like we were yesterday. And yeah, I mean, I know I've been miserable in the field. We won't say who was running the camp.
Okay. Diplomacy.
We were eating, you know, like couscous and packaged and packaged tuna, and over the course of 2 weeks I lost 15 pounds.
A lot of that's probably muscle. It's like you're losing important stuff. Yeah.
And so I find it's just a part of running a good camp is feeding people well. That was kind of instilled on me like early on in grad school. So I keep doing that. You know, we'll tonight. What are we doing tonight? We're either gonna have spaghetti or fajitas tonight.
Ooh,
you know,
nice.
The times I've done a cold breakfast, like oatmeal or something, or cereal, people are miserable by lunch. So I just say, you know what, throw calories at folks, and they're gonna be happy and healthy, and they're gonna find cool dead stuff then. I don't skimp on food.
And if you want to help out with that mission of not skimping on food, you can of course use that donate link there in the chat. Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Josh. You're setting up a grid square, right?
Yeah. So we got a mapping grid. So we've already got the grid pins in the ground from when we first started digging the site back in 2023.
Yeah.
But we don't have grid pins all throughout because you sink a nail into the bone bed. You're gonna hit a bone. A little bit of what we do kind of the first day, or at least the first day we're hitting bone, we reorient ourselves. Okay, this is grid or F1, whatever it is. So if some of the bones, though, we're just collecting, isolated, and not necessarily mapping in, especially some of the smaller arbor plates, the osteoderms.
If we mapped every single one, it would take forever. Like, we'd never get anything done.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, to get more rare bones out of the ground. You just have to pop some of these osteoderms or rib fragments out. But there are still data. So and we'll put down what grid square it came from.
So by physically mapped in, even if we don't draw it onto the map and like use the plumb bob and everything to figure out exactly where on the grid it was, we'll at least put it on the specimen card.
Exactly, and then that way we will have at least to a square meter within the quarry where it came from. So then if those data are ever relevant down the road for things such as what is the density of bone? How many bones do you get per square meter? We can actually address that question.
If some jerk is going to ask you this live on camera and you've got to come up with an answer.
Then I'll have an answer because I've actually quantified it.
Need any help with this? Or you got it?
No, I think I got it.
Awesome. We're good. That's cool. I saw you carrying that over and like, is that a yoga mat? Is that a bazooka?
You just really have to stay zen while you're digging dinosaurs. You're just like, yeah, man. You stay in a happy place. No, it's we're getting got bone layer a day earlier than I thought, and we're starting to collect stuff a day earlier than I thought. So I didn't have all my gear up here, which is the nice thing and the bad thing about being close to camp, because you can just say, I'll just walk back down to camp. But I did hit 10,000 steps, so we're good.
Excellent. This is a pretty cool piece of gear. Like, we've got this at Doling's Bowl as well. They've got a smaller one, actually. They've got the other one where it's bicycle brake cable that runs across, and it's all like welded aluminum around the edge. But this is nice because it's so much more compressible. You can compact it down.
It is good. The one thing I don't like about it, so it's marketed as an archaeology grid square. And I can tell it's designed by archaeologists because it has a flaw. I'm not diplomatic. Y'all got to learn that. So it's 1 meter by 1 meter on the outside of the frame. What we would really like is for it to be 1 meter by 1 meter on the inside of the frame. So we're having to, kind of BS what the bone looks like going underneath the grid square because of that. But it's fine.
Because they're digging squares that are exactly 1 meter down to the last millimeter.
I know.
And this got to fit inside of that.
So it probably wasn't designed by an well, I don't need to, poo-poo any other fields. I was gonna say something about engineers, but I used to be one, so.
I didn't know that. Yeah, you went to school for engineering.
Yeah, I started school as an engineer.
Nice.
And then, some geology professors said, you should do this. And I said, that sounds great.
I mean, I didn't realize, this is back at Alabama, right? At Auburn?
Auburn, yeah.
Yeah. Alabama's a real hotspot for Mesozoic fossils, and I didn't know that growing up. Did you hear about the new Dermachelid that just came out last week?
Yeah, I saw a headline about it. Multiple people texted it to me, and I said, that's cool. I'll read that this winter.
I've got it on my computer if you want to take a look at it.
Sweet.
But, it's cool, exciting stuff.
Yeah, because it's, was it Eocene or, what was it?
It's lower Oligocene.
Okay.
Yeah. Like Rupelian or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
Exciting stuff,
Yeah, the state fossil Basilosaurus.
Absolutely. Which is a fossil whale, not a dinosaur or a marine reptile.
Yeah, in fact, they are so common in South Alabama, people put them in their foundations, their vertebrae. There are houses built on Basilosaurus vertebrae.
That's nuts.
In South Alabama,
Jeez.
They're that common.
Anyway, we're hoping we can talk to you about marine reptiles at some point in the next couple weeks.
Please get me started.
Joshua works on turtles like baenids, which are now extinct group of freshwater turtles. But those are not marine reptiles. But kind of one of your quintessential marine reptiles, mosasaurs. That is Josh's jam. How many mosasaurs have you named at this point? Is it
just one? We've got
a really cool one.
Yeah, it's a really cool one. Then I've got 2 in the works. The papers are written, just gotta find time to finish formatting them. It's just 2 more.
Nice.
For now. We'll see.
Yeah, that'll be cool to talk about. We got another question. We were saying that Laurie's site is the biggest and densest ankylosaur bone bed in the world ever. What would Josh say about that?
Biggest, densest? Yes, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's at least 2 acres where we find bone coming out at the same level. And yeah, I mean, having however many 50 to 100 bones per square meter, that's dense.
That's crazy dense.
Yeah, and the fact that the vast majority, 99.99% of them are
Gastonia.
Gastonia, yeah.
Wild.
It's unheard of with ankylosaurs. It's very different. I mean, you get very dense bone beds, we have quite a few in the Cedar Mountain Formation, which I think is a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
We have so many bone beds in the Cedar Mountain, from Yellow Cat all the way up through the Ruby Ranch, especially, and even Mustn't Touch It. We've got some bone beds, and a lot of them are monospecific. Some of them are things that we would more expect: sauropods, the ornithopod Eolambia,
right?
So things that we think of as being herd animals. But then Gastonia. What's going on?
Right, yeah.
Because both species of Gastonia we find bone beds of. And, the Gastonia burgei, not as dense, not as many individuals as Lori McWhinnie, but yeah.
Wild.
What's going on there? It's something consistent biological and or something consistent environmental.
Right.
And I think that latter might be part of the story.
Interesting. Yeah, we're hoping to find more information about that as the next couple weeks go by. But yeah, thanks, Josh. I'll let you concentrate as you're almost finished.
There is not much
Give me one of those. This is great.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's not gonna screw things
Wouldn't
up.
use it as a trampoline, but it's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to hurt the bones when you put it down on.
Yeah, my little Gastonia model back at camp, we should use that as a trampoline for it.
Like that, yeah. Mine would just fall through. It's so small.
Have you ever had a
Very cool. Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We'll get into the quarry in a little bit and poke around. But I think we've got some other questions and stuff first. Oh, Alexander Morrison says, does Josh have any interest in Thalattosuchia since marine reptiles were mentioned? I bet you he does. We'll ask him about that later. We were talking about, I never stop talking about leatherback turtles nowadays. So we've been talking about that a little bit. And I'd love to be able to do a stream where I sit down with Josh with a couple of books and maybe his computer if he's got papers that he wants to pull out, and then a big whiteboard. And we'll just talk about marine reptiles. Talk about all these different groups, from thalattosaurs to ichthyosaurs, to marine crocs, Thalattosuchians, to plesiosaurs, mosasaurs, what are they? Ankylosaurs, everything in between. Just kind of talk about the depth and breadth of marine reptiles that lived in the Earth's oceans during the Mesozoic and today too. Because of course we've got marine turtles, and we also have marine snakes. Sea snakes are another group of marine reptiles today. And then depending on who you ask, saltwater crocodiles and marine iguana reptiles. So that would be pretty neat. There you go, Squiggles. Yeah. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday, Dr. Javasaurus. He said he liked the one in the latest Jurassic World. It was better than the ones in the previous Jurassic World movies. But yeah, Dacosaurus. I agree, Alexander. That's a cool animal. And yeah, Fuzzy Hamster, were you here? Did it cut out when I was talking about ichthyosaurs in Nevada a few minutes ago? That new exhibit at the Nevada Art Museum in Reno. It's definitely worth a trip if you're going to be in Reno. Go see it before it closes. It just opened up at the beginning of September. They're gonna move it out. They're gonna close it on January 12th, I think. I think the last day is the 11th. You'll be blown away. Deep Time Sea Dragons of Nevada. It's so cool. Yeah, what a cool exhibit. All right, I keep yapping and yapping. Let me go get some water. And had no idea it was out there? Yeah, you bet, Fuzzy Hamster. Seriously, check it out. Very, very cool. One of the coolest exhibits I've seen in a while. They've got some good fossils. It's not It's not a huge exhibit. There's not like a tremendous wealth of fossils, but the ones that are there are well presented, and it's just kind of a celebration of ichthyosaur paleontology in Nevada. I think you're gonna love it.
We're gonna make millions.
Yeah.
That sounded like I liked the.
And there you go, Claire. Yes, I will hydrate. Let's get some of that water.
Ass backward. Hold this ass backward series.
Ooh.
Without thinking like.
Yeah. Mm.
We really did like when they were like, all right, boys, we're gonna glue this on to the top of this thing, and then we got a whole new dinosaur here. We're like billions. South of Smithsonian.
When you guys
Ah.
get to a point,
Anywho,
where you need to
yeah.
collect more.
And Alexander Morrison says, those cliffs in the background, are they part of any defined formation or even fossil bearing? You're talking about these ones here? Yeah, so these are also part of the Cedar Mountain Formation. I think that's the poison strip member at the top. So, that's an excellent opportunity to talk about this. Let me break out my my visual aid here. This comes courtesy of Papa Jim. Jim Kirkland put together this diagram right here. It's about dinosaurs of Utah, and thus it is titled Dinosaurs of Utah. So we've got well over 100 different kinds of dinosaur from Utah at this point. I think it's closer to 130, 115 plus. This is from a few years ago. But yeah, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous periods there. The Cedar Mountain Formation is this formation that we're digging in right now. And what's crazy is that the Cedar Mountain Formation, that's like 40 million years of time. It's immensely long, and you really could break this up probably into multiple different formations if you wanted to. Turn the Cedar Mountain Formation into the Cedar Mountain Group, and then turn each of these, the Lower Yellowcat, Upper Yellowcat, Poison Strip, Ruby Ranch, Mustn't Touch It, turn those into different formations. We are, no, hang on, we're here in the Poison Strip, I believe, and that's the Ruby Ranch up there, I take it? Well, at one point ask somebody more learned than I about the geology here. But these are rocks that are about 120, 130 million years old here from the lower Cretaceous period. And so this is just about the last time before you have flowering plants showing up. So there were no angiosperms at this time in the world. They hadn't enough time that the first flowers show up. Palms, fruit trees, grasses, all kinds of things like that. None of those things existed during the entire age of dinosaurs before this point, and during the entire history of the Earth before that. Today, what's crazy is that angiosperms, the flowering plants, are by far the most dominant plants on any landscape. It's something like 90% of modern plant species are angiosperms. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think it really is like over 90%. None of those existed before this time. And it's wild to think about. So everything that we see here, from an ephedra to whatever that thing is over there, and all of these grasses. It's wild to think of a landscape without any of those plants. Things like ferns, club mosses, spike mosses, cycads, lycopods, lots of conifers, things like that. But no angiosperms, no flowering plants. Yeah. And Utah was present as a piece of land during most of the Mesozoic. Seems like it has dinosaurs from every era, every time period. Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Well, actually, for a second here. The Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous are periods within the Mesozoic era. So when we say period, era, etc., these are like technical terms in geology. in paleontology. So the Cretaceous an era. Era is bigger. So the Mesozoic era is the age of the dinosaurs, and that contains within it the Triassic and Cretaceous periods. And the mystery angiosperm. Good point. Yeah, I'm sure. I wonder how many non-angiosperms they have on Metaflora. Probably not very many. Yeah, most of my favorite plants though are what we call gymnosperms, which is a term that's it's not an actual evolutionary clade. It just means like non-flowering plants for the most part. I'm not a botanist, so if I'm butchering any of this, my apologies. But gymnosperms, we use that term to refer to things like ferns, conifers, horsetails, club mosses. I think club mosses, stuff like that. Did I mention cycads too? Cycads are some of my favorite plants. They're so weird and cool. Ginkgos are another one. There's only one species left of ginkgo in the world, as far as I'm aware. There used to be hundreds or thousands of species. They were some of the dominant plants in a lot of ecosystems. Ginkgos are really neat. Kind of a quintessential Mesozoic plant. Yeah. Fuzzy Hamster says Utah wasn't underwater for a long time. Nevada was. We have a ton of basins, even with no water or barely any. That's true. That's true. There are times when Utah was underwater. So let's take a look at some paleo maps real quick and talk about that. So, oh, by the way, somebody earlier mentioned that I donated $25 to the Prehistoric Museum. Thank you for doing that. I was talking about something else at the moment, but I really appreciate it, and I'm sure Josh really appreciates it too. I'm sure other people have made donations as well, and that it makes a difference. You know, the work that we do out here. I was gonna say it isn't cheap. It is cheap. I mean, like we get a lot of value for every dollar, but we don't get a lot of dollars in the first place, though. And so when you donate, you're making a big difference, and it means a lot. Yeah. But yeah. Paleo is cheap, relatively speaking, Claire. Absolutely. There's very few sciences that are as where you can do as much with as little funding as we get. You know. And let's grab our Ron Blakey paleo maps here. There we go. We've got a twofer here. There we are. Of course, it's the one at the bottom. This is roughly what North America looked like during the early Cretaceous. About 130 million years ago. So that's pretty spot on for where we are right now. Yeah. So let me show you what we're talking here. Here's Texas down here. There's the Gulf Coast. There's Mexico. So much of California is largely land here, and so is Utah at this time. So Utah is a landlocked state nowadays, and it was during this period in Earth history. When I say this period in Earth history, I mean when these rocks were laid down. So these dinosaurs that we're digging up right now, they're from this time, about 130 million years ago. So here is Utah right here. Can you see those borders like that? Utah. So we're about right here. And I like how there's a big kind of river here, because we do have, we think, major rivers running through this part of Utah at this time. Maybe like Mississippi-sized rivers. Huge. Like Jim talks about the Buckhorn River, named after the Buckhorn conglomerate, which is this series of rocks that they've got huge clasts in them, like huge boulders preserved inside, that show that there is a tremendous amount of energy moving through this river. Like the flow is fast enough that it's carrying along huge boulders. So really cool stuff. So yeah, but this is, again, about 130 million years ago, this map here. If we go forward in time, we get to, well, this isn't quite right either, but Oh well. There should be, as I understand it from some of the paleontologists I've spoken with about Western Interior Seaway, this should actually be also water right here. Appalachia and Laramidia, the east and the west, should be separate still. But anyway, part of Utah. Still not underwater right there, but part of Nevada is. Almost all of California is. Yeah. I guess the point is that during the history of our planet, the continents move factors as the climate changes and as different continents get pushed up, as you get mountain building and stuff like that. Coastlines are always changing and certain areas get inundated by seawater and sometimes they're underwater and sometimes they're dry land. This is constantly happening all the time over millions of years. So these changes happen really slowly by human standards, which is part of why we as scientists are so concerned about climate change right now, because this stuff, the climate isn't changing over millions of years currently, like it normally does. It's changing over tens of years, which is really bad. Really, really bad. Too quickly, then ecosystems, organisms, they can't adapt. They die out. Like it's awful. That's what's happening right now. So again, this is the sort of perspective that paleontology gives us. It shows us that what's happening right now is not normal, if that makes sense. So, yeah. These streams make me happy. I'm glad to hear that, Fuzzy Hamster. Yeah. And Squiggle says it's so interesting how the Midwest basically becomes a giant sea at one point. Oh yeah, yeah, the Western Interior Seaway, the WIS, as we call it. Yeah. And the way that we figured this stuff out in the first place, trying to figure out these ancient coastlines and everything, that's based on the rocks and it's based on the fossils. If you're digging around, and here, if you're prospecting these rocks, and you find the fossils of fishes and clams and things like ammonites that we know lived in the oceans, well then shoot, A, it's underwater, and B, it's seawater if you find things like ammonites. So it tells you that was an ancient ocean. Whereas if you find the bones of terrestrial animals, like here, we're digging up some ankylosaurs. Well, we know that this is a terrestrial environment because those are terrestrial animals. They're not... I was going to say you don't find them out in the ocean. You do find ankylosaurs out in the ocean with surprising frequency. That's another story, but it seems like these guys are maybe falling into rivers and... but yeah. Cool to actually talk to Josh about that at some point. But yeah. Anywho. Fuzzy Hamster says we're already over the bar of no return. We can fight to keep this at its current level, but we can't go back. I mean, we can go back to a certain extent. I'm listening to an audiobook right now by Michael Mann, who's a really well-known... He says one of the big pieces of propaganda that climate change denialists are trying to push at this point, they can no longer claim that, climate change isn't happening. They tried to, but people aren't buying it because they see climate change happening all around them. Instead, they say, well, we can't, it's already done, Can't fight it anymore, so might as well just give up. I know you're not saying we should give up. I know you expressly said we shouldn't. I agree with you. But some of this is reversible to a certain extent. It just requires political will. It requires the determination to do something about this. Humanity has overcome all kinds of challenges like this before. This is doable, and things are going to get bad for a little while. There's already some warming that's baked into the equation, but we have the ability to stop this and maybe turn it back a little bit, but it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a lot of work. So yeah. Anywho, yeah. But yeah. There's if I can take a moment to recommend, that current book that I'm reading, I'm only a few chapters in so far. It's called Science Under Siege. It just came out this year. I'd recommend it so far. I like it. Check it out, Science Under Siege by Michael Mann, and the other author is like an epidemiologist. His name is... Oh, goodness. It's got an L in it. It's like Lusco or something like that, his surname. Oh, no, Peter Hotez. That's it. Thank you, Claire. Yes, indeed. Yeah. I do think it's called Science Under Siege. Make sure that I've got this right. There's a book with a similar title that's been roundly panned, which makes it confusing. But I think it's called Science Under Siege, right? Somebody look it up. Anywho, I'd recommend that. Yeah. That's exactly it, Claire. Thank you very much. Yeah. That's it. Brilliant. Thank you, Claire. I'd recommend it. Yeah, it's important. Very timely. Just came out. If you're interested in the current assault on science, especially in the United States, but in other places too, it's a book you might want to pick up. Yeah. The other book that I would recommend is actually a novel about similar things. It's called The Ministry for the Future by Kim Stanley Robinson. And Kim Stanley Robinson is actually a really well-known science fiction author. I think he wrote was it the Mars series? I don't know, I haven't read them. It's my first book that I've read of Kim Stanley Robinson. But it's a brilliant novel. It starts off really bleak, but it's, on the whole, a very optimistic book. And it follows a whole bunch of different characters. It's written from the perspective of like 50 different people. All about... it's set in the near future where Earth is being ravaged by climate change, and people decide to do something about it and try and turn the tide. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I'd actually recommend the audiobook more than the print version, because the different narrators have different voices in the audiobook, and if that sounds interesting to you, it helped me follow things a bit better. I listen to a lot of audiobooks when I'm out exercising, going to the gym, driving, doing work outside, doing the dishes, cleaning my office, whatever, While I'm working, I listen to audiobooks as long as I'm not writing. Yeah, I'd recommend this one. It's worth a... Yeah. And... Oh, and Gal Rocks, I think... Yeah, if that's from the 90s, I think Kim Stanley Robinson has evolved a lot since then. And actually that's like a major plot point in the book too, in The Ministry for the Future. It's definitely an anti-racist book, so don't worry about that. Yeah, I think that author has learned a lot since then. Yeah. But yeah. And Just Floof, is it bold to assume all paleontologists are atheists or the likes? It is bold to assume that, because they're definitely not. No. Paleontologists are, in some ways, a fairly diverse group of people. I like to think more so than some other fields of science. There's paleontologists who have different kinds of philosophical, political, religious beliefs. There's paleontologists from different socioeconomic backgrounds, from lots of different, geopolitical backgrounds, all kinds of stuff, So it's never safe to assume something within paleontology. Unless there's a few assumptions you can make about paleontologists. Can you assume that paleontologists enjoy being out in here in the field? No. A lot of paleontologists never go out into the field. They work in the laboratory full time. Is it safe to assume that all they work with bones? No, absolutely not. Paleontology is the study of things from fossil bacteria to fossil plants to fossil whales. Is it safe to assume that paleontologists are passionate about the history of life on Earth? Yes. That's maybe one of your few assumptions you can make. Is it safe to assume that paleontologists are interested in how life changes over time? They're interested in evolution? Yes. Evolution is kind of is part and parcel of paleontology. That's what we do, is we study evolution through the fossil record. But there are lots of different people with different you know, religious or spiritual beliefs or lack thereof. You know, it takes all kinds of people, for sure. But we're united by a passion for the past, for the history of life on Earth, and what it can tell us about the present and the future. So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's so nice out here.
And first time chat from E Dragonfly. Hey, welcome to Paleontologizing. Are there examples of paleoanachronisms where two fairly closely somethings are found with different ages? Hang on a sec. Fairly close sites are found with different ages. Yeah, we'll get what we call, this is a thing that's really common. You'll get unconformities, which is where you've got just a ton of time missing. And that's, you know, we would expect that when we study how rocks are formed and everything. The Grand Canyon has got some famous ones, some big unconformities. They've got one that's like 1 billion years of missing time.
Yeah, I remember.
About this, like how landscapes change over time, you can get a lot of changes between depositional and erosional environments. So I'll explain what that means. A depositional environment is a spot where you have new rock being formed. So this will be places like, I talk about the Mississippi Delta, or like a Louisiana bayou. You know, in the southeast part of the United States, you've got these huge rivers like the Mississippi coming in, and they're just dumping sediment there, and they tend to bury a lot of stuff. So that's a depositional environment. You have sediment being dumped in place, and then slowly over time it compacts, and eventually it'll turn into rock. That's where you get new rocks being formed. Then you get erosional environments, and this is a classic example of an erosional environment. I mean, you just look at this hillside right here, and you see all of this bare rock. This stuff is eroding so quickly. It's so dry out here, too, that wind and occasional rain and, I guess, snow and freeze-thaw during the winter, it's breaking these rocks apart, and everything's kind of coming down the hill faster than plants can grow. And there's often not enough moisture for plants to grow here anyway. The kind of plants that we get here are pretty scraggly stuff, like sagebrush and ephedra and stuff like that, you know. But this is an erosional environment. There's not new rock being laid down here. Rock is being eroded away, being destroyed in a place like this, which is why it's so wonderful for coming out and finding fossils, because you have nature that's exposing them there for you. That's why we come out to prospect in places like this. That's why we find fossils here, is because it's an erosional environment. So think about both of those concepts now. Depositional environment and erosional environment. You have rocks being formed in some and rocks being destroyed in others. And now think about that in terms of geological time. In a given spot, like say Utah, right here, or right here, there's Utah in both places 130 million years ago and 70 million years ago. Notice how different the continent looks right there. In both of these times, no, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that Utah used to be a depositional environment 130 million years ago when these rocks were being deposited here. That's why we've got these beautiful rocks. That's why we've got these dinosaur fossils. It's not depositional anymore. Something changed. The Earth is always changing. Now this region that used to be a depositional environment is now an erosional environment. So stuff is being eroded away. As a result, in the future, they'll be missing rocks from here in Utah at this time. We're not depositing rocks here. So this is going to be a blank time in the future, if that makes sense. 'Cause there's no record from right here. No rock being deposited. Does that make sense? So we get a ton of those. So like certain places, like for instance, the Grand Canyon, that used to be a depositional environment for a long time, new rock being laid down, and then, well, sometimes the rock stops being laid down and it gets eroded for a while, so you're losing that big chunk of time. And then something changes and it becomes a depositional environment again. So you get those gaps in time like that. Nowadays, the Grand Canyon is an erosional environment. That's why the canyon is there, is because that rock was being eroded by the Colorado River. So does that make sense? That's called an unconformity. If we can get the Wikipedia article for that. It's, but yeah. If you see Michael Chiappone out there at the dig site, tell him Matthew from New Zealand sends his regards. I will do that, in fact. Let's go see if we can spot him. Yeah. Here. And Michael does have so many fans. Here, let me put this where it's not going to blow away for a second. Here, let's just stick this in here. All right.
That's non-negotiable.
Someone do.
If it's an orange cat, that thing's name is Joe.
People asked me what my favorite movie about aliens was, and I was like, what kind of
That is kind of the correct answer, yeah. That or maybe Lilo and Stitch.
I mean, that'd be an okay one, I suppose. But I was like, somebody goes cowboys and Indians, and I'm like, what? I mean, Independence Day is a pretty good one. That's a good one. Welcome to Earth.
Michael, we've got another fan who would like to say hello.
That's so cool.
Do you know a Matthew from New Zealand?
Oh my god. Howdy, Matthew.
Anyway, this is awesome. You've got so many admirers across the internet.
That would be one of my geology buddies from undergrad.
Nice, nice. Very cool. Ended up in New Zealand. That's awesome.
Have fun in Hobbiton, Matthew. He's there for work.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He is also a geologist.
Oh, cool,
He's
cool,
out
cool.
of Denver, I think.
Nice.
Or near Denver.
Very cool. Yeah. Is he from New Zealand originally?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's from
Gotcha.
Texas.
Yeah.
He's another Texas boy.
Nice.
Well,
nice.
sort of. I mean, Alaska before that.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, and The Lizard says, "Hi, Alyssa from Liz in Chicago."
Liz! I knew it. I was like, she'll love this. Hi, Liz.
Anyway, this is great. I think this is the most, times that somebody in chat has wanted to say hello to somebody on the crew. This is really cool. Yeah. Anyway, having a good time out here so far, Alyssa?
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
So it's not fully vacation, but it's like work vacation.
Yeah.
Vacation work.
That's how I feel about it too. I don't know. It's nice to be able to do this kind of work and not have to worry about. Well, I guess I am at work right now. This is my
Yeah, you're
full-time
working
job
right
is
now.
streaming, but
You're not at a desk, though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It does beat being at home to a certain extent.
Because my social outlet is going to work with other people.
Yeah. Nice. Any new bones over here?
We've got a couple osteoderm floats.
Oh, nice.
We're just
Okay.
taking this down because we're getting more bones. They've got all of these down at this layer, so we're trying to get this down, but we got some falling out over here. So
Cool.
we're still on super cleanup duty. I don't know how much Jake's enjoying me making them clean.
Not my favorite thing to do.
I mean, it's still looking pretty good considering we did almost a full day of overburden yesterday.
Yeah, that's
There's not that much rubble here.
Immensely better than that day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this quarry wasn't this big last year, even on the last day.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
you guys
Okay.
did a lot of work. And I was packing at home, so I got to miss that. It was fantastic.
But yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Here, let me go get some more water and answer some more questions. Yeah.
She's my director.
Anyway, good stuff. Oh, and Lenina says Texas represents. She's from Texas, one of my moderators.
Look,
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we've had a lot of Texas talk here. Yeah, because Erica's also from Texas on the crew. She'll be here the whole time that I'm here. So, yeah, Texans are definitely well represented on this crew. And Josh Lively, expedition leader, he went to school in Texas. So, yeah. Good stuff. And we had another question earlier that I neglected to answer. Let's see. It's great when scientists get fans. I agree. I missed it. Are fieldwork willing paleontologists more wanted than those that only want to be in the lab or office? Well, more wanted in the field, yeah. If somebody doesn't want to come out to the field, nobody's going to make them. Yeah, I don't know. If you're looking for a job, it's tricky because there's so few jobs in paleontology. And when I say jobs, I mean ways to get paid to be a paleontologist. They're hiring you because you're a paleontologist. Yeah, so that's usually like being a university professor, being someone who works in a museum, either as like a technician style job, like a preparator, or as a museum curator, or a collections specialist, collections manager, that kind of thing. I don't know, there's lots and lots of different ways to be a paleontologist. There's not as many ways to get paid to be a paleontologist. I'm really lucky in the sense that I make my living doing outreach full time. So I get to be my own boss. I get to travel around to different field sites and different museums, and then spend a good deal of time at home in the air conditioning as well, doing live streams. I'm the first paleontologist that I know of who does live streams full time and makes their living doing that. That's what I do. But yeah, if you have different candidates applying for a job, and some of them do field work and some of them don't, it depends what the job is. I suppose, all other things being equal, it probably does make you a slightly more attractive candidate if you go out and do field work. But certain jobs require that, though, you know? So like Josh, who's curator of the museum in Price, Utah, the Prehistoric Museum, they knew that they wanted a field guy to come out here and work. And they're a museum that's kind of in the heart of Cretaceous fossil country, Jurassic and Cretaceous fossil country out here in Utah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's go ask Josh actually. Yeah, as opposed to let me get some water real quick, and then we'll do that.
Probably a trunk vertebra, or dorsal, as the dino weeds call it.
So would it be from McRib or from somebody else?
Oh, somebody else.
Yeah.
Nah, McRib is gonna have like a dinner plate sized vertebra.
Yeah.
Are we, so we're confident, we're somewhat confident that's sauropod?
I mean, I don't know of anything else that's got a 5 foot 5 foot.
Is it 5 foot?
Oh shoot!
Just about.
McRib on it?
And then when we had the jacket, we started scrawling all over the McRib.
Just draw a sandwich.
Yeah, I drew a sandwich on it. It was great.
Beautiful. We don't even have to write the words.
I don't know. It was either 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah,
something like that.
That does sound like a sauropod, yeah. That's just a real big iguanodont or something.
Big,
yeah. I'm sorry I can't show you that, chat. That's maybe yeah.
Oh, the pictures of McRib?
McRib is so bad.
There's some okay ones. Like, I would put it on your LinkedIn. I would.
The McRib is so bad.
I'll put it on my LinkedIn.
Yeah. But Josh, we had a question in the chat, kind of about the importance of field work. Like, not every paleontologist does field work, and I'm trying to make that point. But your job requires doing a bunch of field work, and that's surely one of the reasons why they hired you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that work out when you were looking for a job and, you know?
You know, there are a lot of different types of jobs in paleo.
Yeah.
And
there's not that many jobs, but like they're all different.
They can all be very different. So like with a museum that has somewhat of a mission to continue to grow the collections and an expectation to grow the collections, I think they wanted somebody that had quite a bit of field work in Utah, and so I guess when I got hired, I had about a decade of experience working in Utah.
Nice.
Starting after I graduated college, and then
what are some
right
different
up.
places you worked?
So I spent a lot of my time in Grand Staircase.
Nice.
Working down there. That was out of my master's, working in the Comparowitz Formation. So all fluvial stuff, rivers and lakes, and so turtles, crocs, and dinosaurs too.
Which makes a point to like not, overemphasize the dinosaur part of things. Even though
This is a strictly, almost, no, we have 2 croc teeth, otherwise it's a strictly dinosaur quarry. Not a scrap of turtle, which is blasphemy.
bizarre. Yeah.
No, my PhD advisor, his favorite line, one of the rules he had in his lab was dinosaurs are boring. And I tend to agree with him, unless you have a massive sample size of one, which we do here.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Dinosaurs pay the bills.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, a lot of work in Utah, in Grand Staircase, other places. Let's see, I've worked in Peru, Alberta. Yeah.
So Cenozoic stuff in Peru?
Yeah.
Wales?
Yeah. Eocene.
Nice, yeah.
But
were you at Cerro Ballena?
no, I wasn't there.
No.
My project at the time was mostly going to be doing geology.
Okay.
Working out the paleo environment of some of the early whale and penguin sites that were there.
Nice.
But yeah, so I worked for about a month in Peru. Worked in Alberta. I've been took a high school summer camp on a dig in Australia. But then, yeah, beyond that, I've worked in Colorado a decent amount in the marine rocks there. Worked in Texas. Yeah, kind of lots of different places for sure.
Really cool. And we've got a croc person in the chat too, who's always asking crocodilomorph questions.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite kind of croc? I'm gonna ask for Alexander.
Favorite kind of croc? I'm gonna say alligator mississippiensis because it is delicious. I absolutely love those things. Yeah, I've had gator. I don't know, 5 or 6 different ways.
Wow.
And they're all great.
Okay.
Deep fried gator meatball way, but it was still good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's better than no gator. So yeah, that's probably not the answer they were looking for,
That's
but
not the answer I was expecting.
no.
Yeah.
That's like when people ask me, what's my favorite dinosaur? Rivoli's hummingbird.
Yeah.
Or the American dipper, one of those two.
Oh, those are so cool. I only recently learned that those existed. Like,
Yeah.
incredibly weird. Where they're just diving for invertebrates in streams and stuff like that.
It's a wing-propelled diving wren, essentially.
Nuts.
It's plump. It just sits on the side of the stream, bounce, bounce, bounce. Pew! It's great.
They're so cool. We've
I
looked
love
at them
them
on screen before in videos and stuff. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Yeah.
I'll think about what my favorite fossil croc is.
That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know that's probably what they meant. Yeah.
Stuff. All right. Other questions? Yeah. And now just because it's a little cramped where we're at, we've got some people who are going to be taking off later today, and there should hopefully be more room for me to dig there soon. And also there'll be more things to do instead of just like a lot of the stuff that I would be doing is going to require intense concentration. So it's going to be trying to find bones and trench around them and that kind of thing. When we get time to actually start mapping and jacketing and removing these fossils, collecting them, that might be a little bit more appropriate that, you know, I'll be streaming and talking at the same time that I'm working in the quarry. But like you could see, Josh is just kind of supervising right now as people kind of learn how to work there. We've got a lot of new folks. I'm kind of just trying to stay out of the way to a certain extent right now, but we'll be doing some actual work in the quarry like we did yesterday, coming up over the next few streams, hopefully. We'll have more space in the quarry. Let's see. From Fuzzy Hamster, why isn't there a specific course for aspiring paleontologists and you have to go into geology or other fields to get there? At least where I live. Yeah, one of the reasons why I went to Montana State University for undergrad is that you could actually major in paleontology there. At the time, I think that was the only school in the country, if not in the world, where you could actually major in paleontology. Or at least it's like paleontology concentration. There's a particular like course path in the earth sciences department for paleontology. That's very rare because paleontologists are not very common, you know? There's very few paleontology jobs that crop up every year. Josh was saying that when he got his job in 2020, that was like the only paleo job that popped up that whole year. only like curator position or professorship or whatever like that. Yeah, I was gonna say he got lucky, but he's kind of perfect for the job. So that was, you could say that was kismet. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, my point is that there's not a lot of emphasis on like training people to be paleontologists because there's just not very many jobs. There's not a lot of opportunities out there. Even though critters like dinosaurs are big business, even though they pay the bills, like Josh said, very little of that money actually finds its way into funding paleontology, you know? Some of the biggest movie franchises of all time, some of the like biggest pop culture things are dinosaurs or dinosaur related, and yet we don't see hardly any of that money as paleontologists, and there's very few jobs available to us. The ones that do exist don't pay very well. So yeah, compare that to, say, geologists or biologists, you know, it becomes a lot easier, especially for geology. There's some big economic engines that kind of revolve around geology, you know, fossil fuels, oil and gas and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of money in that. And so a lot of that kind of trickles down into academic geology. We don't really have that for paleontology. Yeah, it's tricky. Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. When I was at Montana State, in the Earth Sciences department, since they had a paleontology major there, since you could go there and like check paleontology as a box, huge number of new undergrads every year, first semester freshmen, they'd show up and they go, I want to do paleontology. And then 95% of them would either drop out or switch majors the next semester. I think when they realized that, like, oh shoot, this is hard work. It's not easy stuff. You've got to know biology and geology and take a bunch of courses, and you know, you don't just watch Jurassic Park in class. That was a real thing. It's so yeah. Montana State definitely benefited from offering paleontology as like a path toward graduation, but hardly anybody sticks with it. Yeah, that makes sense. And Fuzzy Hamster says, what do I do if I find a possible fossil? I found some questionable rocks, don't really have phone service, no idea where I'm at. So you have to know where you're at if you want those fossils to mean anything. If you pick up something that's a fossil, and you bring it to a museum, the first thing they're going to ask you is, where did you find this? So you need to be able to say, hey, it's from this particular spot. I have like a GPS point. That's the most important thing. Fossils are absolutely worthless without context. So if you buy a fossil at a rock shop or something, and they just say, oh, it's from Morocco, or oh, it's from Colorado, you know, that's worthless. Because there's no geological context around it. The whole point of collecting fossils is that we're trying to figure out the history of life on Earth. So in order to do that, you have to know how old the rocks are, you have to know the location. That gives it context that makes it scientifically important. So if you're out hiking and you stumble across something that you think might be an important fossil, there's two things that you should do, and they're both kind of equally important. One of them is to figure out exactly where you are. If you have a GPS app on your phone or something, use that and put down a pin so you can know you can come back to exactly where it was. The second thing that you should do is take pictures, especially with the scale bar if you can. And it doesn't have to be like a proper scientific scale bar. You could stick a banana next to it if that's what you have, or a quarter, or a Swiss Army knife, or sometimes even your hand. Just put something in the photo for scale, and then email those photos to your local paleontologist. A lot of states will have a geological survey. So like a state agency about geology and stuff like that. They handle sometimes like mineral rights and oil and gas and stuff like that. But sometimes they also have a paleontologist on staff. Or at the least have some geologists who are trained in paleontology to a certain extent. Or they'll know people who are. See if you can contact somebody like that and send them that location data, locality data as we call it, and in those photos, because it could turn out to be something really important. Leave the fossil in the ground, first of all, because sometimes, like, if you remove it, and there could be legal consequences for that. If it's on public land, you don't have a permit to collect it, that could get you in real trouble. But also, you're essentially destroying the site sometimes if you collect this stuff. You have to leave it there in the ground because the orientation of the bone, or whatever fossil it is, or just its very presence there in the ground is extremely important. Because if you want to be to that site so they can properly excavate it, they need to be able to find out where it is, because maybe there's... So leave it in the ground, don't dig it up. But take photos, GPS readings, and that could be huge, you know? I don't know how many different dinosaurs in particular have been named after people who originally discovered them. Like some woman out walking her dog, or some guy out bird watching or hunting or hiking or whatever. Regular people make really important fossil discoveries all the time. It's much more common than you would realize, and sometimes those fossils get named after those people if it's a new species or a new genus. So not only is it important for science, but it could give you your claim to fame too, you know? Many such cases. It's not a rare thing. There's so many different important fossils that have been found by regular folks, by people who are not paleontologists. Yeah, important. Yeah. So I'm a little bit behind, chap. I'm trying to answer these questions. Why not extend the dig site? Well, we did extend the dig site yesterday. And we removed a bunch of rock here in order to expand the quarry a bit. But we've got limited time. The thing is, this site is so incredibly dense. There's fossils everywhere that if we open up too much of it, we'll end up destroying a bunch of stuff. Because that means it'll be sitting out over the winter, and the wind and rain and snow and ice and everything will work its destructive forces upon it, and it'll just be busted up and broken. So we're trying not to bite off more than we could chew here.
Yeah, you're getting close.
We've got Jeff over here who's doing some overburden. Let's go say hi to Jeff for a second, actually, because we've not said hello at all yet. You mind if we check in on you, Jeff?
What?
Mind if we check in on you real quick?
I don't know about anything yet.
No, but it's important to like show overburden removal too, like you're doing. So I didn't mean to like interrupt.
Oh no.
But yeah, it's just it's cool to say hey to everybody in the quarry. So yeah, Jeff is local here in this part of Utah, and he's been a tremendous supporter of the museum and this whole field program. So yeah, Jeff is good people. But yeah, so he's removing some overburden right now. We just had a question in the chat, like, why don't you guys just extend the quarry out further, you know?
Oh, so we're trying right now. So this is kind of what I'm doing today. Is we're chasing the bone layer. So all the white caps that are. Over here.
I didn't realize we had so many jackets over here. This is great.
Yeah, we exposed those yesterday.
Yeah.
So we have bone layer all the way up there, and then it kind of just disappears or goes deeper right here. So we're trying to figure out if there's more here or if the layer changes. So it's kind of goofy because last year we pulled out a big, giant rib from right above
the
here.
McRib, is that it?
Yeah, the McRib. But that was all we got out of there, like one single rib. And so far we've had, it just kind of disappears right here. And there's bone all the way up to this point, and then it just kind of.
And then it disappears.
Yeah, and then so it's the same bedrock that's right there, but we don't have anything here, and then it continues. Yeah. The same line over there. So we're trying to figure out why.
Interesting.
Yeah, a little frustrating, but it's still science.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for doing it. Yeah, this is it's important stuff. But yeah, I was also just trying to explain to the chat like why we don't dig up this whole hillside, because the bone is so dense over there that like if we expose everything, it's just going to get wrecked by the elements over the winter. Like it's important to keep some of the rock above it, just to keep things intact until we're ready to dig in seriously. But yeah, good stuff. Anyway, thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Cool. But yeah, and let's see. Let me try and catch up to chat. I know we had some other questions. And coins are great for scale. That's true, Squiggles. Yeah. Vexy says also trying to take fossils can break them. Better leave it to paleontologists. I agree. Yeah. I mean, the reason why we build those field jackets, those like white caps that you saw over there, that's strips of burlap that are soaked in plaster of Paris to make a protective cocoon around the fossils. That allows us to get the fossils out of the ground without breaking them. So it's almost like a cast on a broken arm or something. It holds everything in place so it doesn't crumble when you take it out of the ground. Most hikers and other people are not carrying around 50-pound bags of plaster and big rolls of burlap, nor the water that you need to mix that stuff up and make jackets out of it. So, yeah, that's what we do as paleontologists, though. I've hiked many a mile with plaster or water on my back, or a burlap wrapped around my neck like a scarf. It's yeah, that stuff is important, and it's heavy, except for the burlap. Yeah. And Fuzzy Hamster says, public opinion, is it okay to pick up coprolite and trilobite fossils legal in Nevada? Yeah, for the most part, yeah. It's legal for the most part, unless you're on private land, in which case you don't want to get shot by a landowner. I've had rifles pointed at me before while I'm out prospecting. On public land, mind you. But yeah, for the most part, things like invertebrates, like trilobites, they do tend to be more common than vertebrate fossils. So say like an ichthyosaur bone might be really scientifically important because you follow that in and there could be a whole skeleton there. But if you pick it up off the surface, a paleontologist might walk by the next day and they'd have no idea that there's an ichthyosaur right under their boots because you picked up the only indicator bone on the surface. Trilobites and things like that tend to be much more common. They tend not to be as since they're not as rare, they're not as scientifically important. And I think that's one of the reasons why invertebrate fossils are often legal to collect. It's fine to do that on public land in the US, for the most part. There are exceptions, but yeah. When I say public land, I guess I mean Bureau of Land Management, federal land. If you're on National Park Service land or something, you know, you're supposed to leave no trace on, like, you know, in national parks. Anywho, yeah. And turtles and tortoises as well. Turtles and tortoises are scientifically important oftentimes, and they are illegal to collect on public land without a permit. And usually you've got to be part of a paleontological crew to get a permit like that. Yeah. Toilet Gator makes a good point. I think rule of thumb is that if you buy it in a museum gift shop, you're okay to pick it up, but check local laws and stuff anyway. Exactly. Yeah. And Mayor of Space, we already heard about the blue jay and green jay hybrid. Josh was talking about that earlier. That's funny. Bird news travels fast, doesn't it? Almost as fast as the actual birds. Yeah. And Claire Burr says, have we ever found anything that would make us think that maybe an earthquake at some point would have moved older rock up in the strata? Not so much earthquakes, but you do sometimes get rocks that get flipped over. So the oldest ones are on top and the youngest ones are underneath. There's some famous examples of this right near the Golden Gate Bridge, off the California coast, on the California coast, you know, where I'm from. So sometimes you get like a complete inversion. So like the rock just gets flipped by tectonic forces, but you can usually tell that that's what happened, you know. And sometimes you get like loop-de-loops and stuff like that where the rock gets folded and contorted and squished and jostled, and you get really weird stuff up there. Because that's like a major plate boundary there between the San Andreas Fault, like the San Andreas Fault between the North American plate and the Juan de Fuca plate and the Pacific plate. It's a lot of cool geology going on there. It's wild. Yeah. But as for like an earthquake moving things up in strata, not really. It might move it a few meters or something, but it's not going to be anything that's going to really confuse a geologist for the most part. You know, it'll be pretty obvious what happened there, because it'll be along a fault. Well, Derek, people get really yeah. There you go, Gatsby. Yeah. Yeah. And Pothok, thank you for the 12 months of support. I really appreciate that. Yeah. And hey, Sazla Shakes. Howdy. How are you doing? It's good to have you here. Anyhow, let's get some more water. Gotta remember to do that. Still adjusting to desert life again. I've kind of gone soft being in civilization for 5 weeks. And make sure I'm reacclimating myself to
Rocks that you were digging through?
ooh,
Okay.
the real stuff out here when I'm back east in Utah.
Okay.
Let's see. Any lepidosaurs spotted out there? I've seen precious few lizards so far. And no tuatara, if you can believe that. But yeah, there was, as I was talking with Josh over there when he was setting up that grid square, there was a tiny little lizard, almost looked like a fence lizard or something, like Scaloporus or something like that, that was skittering by. But, and I think I heard Alyssa say that she saw a big orange lizard earlier too. We'll get some cool lizards out here. We've caught some on camera before when we were at Doling's Bowl a few miles that way. But yeah, we'll get things like various species of spiny lizard, which I think are related to like Scaloporus, like the western fence lizard. That's what I'm familiar with back home, the blue belly lizards, as we would call them. The males have got these blue spots on their ventral side. We'll get leopard lizards out here in Utah. We'll get collared lizards, which are beautiful to look at. The leopard lizards are really pretty too. Yeah, some cool critters for sure. This is a great area for lizards. We just haven't seen very many of them yet out here, and I don't know why. Doling's Bowl was full of lizards this year. But again, I've been here for less than 2 days at this point. We'll see more lizards. I'm confident of it. Yeah. And that's really neat, Toilet-Gator. Yeah, so you can pick up things that have already eroded out. Neat. A few rock gamma and a juvenile green iguana. Very cool, Alexander. Nice. Remember the first time I saw a green iguana in the wild in Puerto Rico, I was blown away. So big and just so confident. They have this air about them where they're like, really? You're going to come over here and mess me up? I'll mess you up, you know?
That's what I'm going to have to figure out.
Yeah, and then when they decide to move, they go so quick sometimes. Like, to see an animal move at such lightning speed like that is really neat. Used to seeing that in small lizards, but when you scale them up so they're like a meter long or more, it's something to see. It's really cool. Yeah. And there you go, Alexander. Yeah. And Marcy Walks Dogs, it's your birthday today? Happy birthday. That's excellent. I appreciate you spending part of your birthday with us. I'm honored. Yeah, I hope you're having a great day. I hope this next trip around the sun is your best one yet. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And Caden says, how do you choose where to dig? Well, we choose where the fossils are, of course. Yeah, so I can kind of go through the spiel if you'd like to. This is a question that I get a lot, and it's an important one. Because I think, a lot of folks don't really... It kind of requires an understanding of geology. Ooh, some ravens over there going nuts. It kind of requires an understanding of geology to really understand. But here's the thing. Dinosaurs, if we're talking about dinosaurs lived all over the planet, on all 7 continents, including Antarctica. They lived all over the world. If there's a landmass today, there's a good chance there were dinosaurs on it at one point. Unless they're super recent, like Hawaii, formed after the dinosaurs. Anyway, so you had dinosaurs all over the world, but in certain places, they would get buried in the rock, and then in far fewer places, those rocks are today exposed on the surface. So that's why we're working out here in eastern Utah, is that we've got this beautiful bare rock like this right here on the surface. So you can walk along and look for fossil bones sticking out. And that's exactly what happened here in the 1990s. So the Denver Museum of Natural History, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science in Denver, Colorado, they had a crew out here, I think led by Ken Carpenter. And a member of that crew named Lori McWhinney, she was out prospecting. So she was walking along here, just looking at the ground, looking for any evidence of bone sticking out anywhere. And she happened to find some bone over here. And she and her crew dug in further and found more bone, and it turned into a huge site that was worked for over a decade. That's this site right here. We've kind of inherited this site from the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. We're continuing this work here. But that's how it was discovered in the first place, as a crew of paleontologists and volunteers came out here, and they were out looking for fossils. So we call that prospecting. And so in order to do that, and actually find fossils, you have to find rocks of the right age and the right type. So if you're looking for dinosaurs, you have to be looking for rocks that are between 252 million and 66 million years old. If you don't look in rocks of that ages, you're not gonna find any dinosaur fossils. So that's important. You also have to find rocks of the right type. So if you're looking in rocks that are clearly from the bottom of an ocean, not a super high likelihood you're gonna find dinosaurs. Dinosaurs didn't live in the oceans. You want to look for rocks that are terrestrial and sedimentary rocks. So if you look in volcanic rocks like lava flows, you're not going to find dinosaur fossils, because lava has this nasty tendency to burn things up. You're not going to have bones preserved in that. So you want rocks that are sedimentary. So rocks that are made of sand, mud, clay, silt, stuff like that. And so all of the soil here is just eroded rocks from sandstones, mudstones, siltstones, clays, etc. So when dinosaurs are walking around doing their thing and dying and getting buried, they're today buried in sedimentary rocks. Rocks that are made of accumulated sediment, the stuff that buried those dinosaurs. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, find rocks of the right age, the right type. You go out and look, and you find them eroding out of the ground. That's how we do it. Yeah. But yeah. And let's see, no non-dinosaurs in Florida. And yeah, Alexander Morrison. No dinosaur fossils from Florida, unless we're talking about Cenozoic dinosaurs. Birds. Titanus has been found in Florida, which is cool. I'm sure you know that already. But there's lots of other cool fossils, lots of Pleistocene stuff in Florida. Stuff from around the last ice age. You know this already, of course, so I'm saying this for everybody else's benefit. Ground sloths, mammoths, gomphotheres, mastodons, I think saber-toothed cats and dire wolves and things like that from Florida. Probably camels and horses too. Probably bison also. Lots of cool big mammals from Florida from very recently in time. Yeah. And Just Floof says, well, yesterday we discussed the sonar thing in Jurassic Park, etc. is useless. Yeah. What about certain lights, though, like black lights? So UV lights can help. They can help determine if a fossil on display or in a rock shop or at an auction or something is real or not. Because certain fossil bones do kind of fluoresce under like a black light. UV light, but yeah, they're not really much use in the field. That's the thing, is that we're typically not walking around in the dark. Like, we're prospecting during the daytime, because otherwise you might get hurt if you're walking around at night. And usually you have to cover a lot of territory to be able to find something good if you're out looking for fossils. Hikers and bird watchers and hunters and people like that, they will stumble across fossils, and that's often because they're covering a lot of territory. You often got to go on a long hike if you want to find a dinosaur. Yeah. So that's not really, it doesn't really make sense to do that at night with a black light or whatever, you know? You could try it with a drone or something like that, but that's the thing, is that you're going to get a zillion false positives. You'll find a ton of scorpions with a black light. But yeah, I don't know. In order to actually find fossils, you basically have to walk along and you're constantly picking things up. Is this a bone? No. That's a rock right there. You're just doing that hundreds of times until you find something, you know, find something good. So that's what prospecting is. You use the old Mark I eyeball and you go out and you look and you pick things up. Does that make sense? Yeah. Complex. I've never heard the phrase sadomastodon before, but I'm gonna have to remember that. That's really funny. Yeah. 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 Oh, and shark teeth and stinger. Yeah, there's a lot of cool fossils of aquatic critters in Florida as well. Absolutely, Mayor Space. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to forget them. Thank you for that. Oh, very cool, Alexander. Nice. And Clever says Twitch chat wants a fast, easy, technologically advanced way of doing it. Yeah, that's the thing. Is that sort of thing just doesn't work. You know, it requires sharp eyes and a lot of just picking stuff up, and sometimes like licking things in order to determine if they're bone. Especially if you're kind of new to prospecting. If you want to figure out if something is just rock or bone, you'll pick it up and maybe try and stick it to your tongue. And if it doesn't stick, chances are that's a rock. But bone, especially the interior texture of bone, is really spongy. So it's got all of these hollows and, you know, spongy texture inside. And that tends to stick to your tongue. It's like that sponginess. The same way that, like, if you stick a dry sponge to your tongue, it'll stick. Fossil bone will do that too, if it's the interior bone texture that's all spongy. So, yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. And licking rocks? Yeah, Vexy. Yeah, that's a thing. Geologists do a lot of that, and paleontologists do too. Say we want to take a section here. Taking a section is our phrase for, like, when you're looking at the layers of rocks, you're looking at a section of rock, and you're trying to figure out what's going on lithologically. What's going on in terms of how the rock is changing and stuff. So that's probably already been done for this site years ago. But in order to, like, properly place something in time, you have to be able to figure out, well, what's going on with the rocks. So here, we know that our quarry is here at this level, and so you'll try and find this level at a spot where the rock is more contiguous vertically. So you'll look for really similar lithology over there along that hillside, and you'll measure it out. So you'll go, okay, well, this is a paleosol. It's kind of greenish. It's this texture. It's this consistency. You might pop some into your mouth, kind of chew it around a little bit, determine how gritty it is. Different kinds of rocks will have different flavor profiles, essentially. Different mouthfeel, I should say. Some are more gritty. Some are more sandy. Some are more smooth or chalky. And that's one of the things that you learn when you're doing your training in geology is you learn to taste the differences in those bits of rock. And when I say rock, I'm not talking about, like, chewing on a stone, something that's going to break your teeth. I'm talking about, like, soft sandstone, mudstone, siltstone, clay, that kind of thing. Where you can chew it up like a Hershey's chocolate bar, kind of feel it between your teeth, and go, this is a really fine-grained mudstone. It's not particularly smooth, you know, that kind of thing. And so you're doing that, and then you're measuring the section as you go up. You're saying, okay, here's this layer, here's where it finds upward, and it turns into kind of like a channel sand, and then above it you get these lenses, and then you get mudstone, and you're making like a vertical map of those rocks right there. We call that taking a section. And then you can compare that to different places in the landscape. And so if we want to study this dinosaur bone bed here with all these nodosaurs, all these ankylosaurs, we can compare that to other sites that yield a lot of ankylosaurs, and we go, is this the same horizon or is it different? You take a section over there, you compare your sections, and you figure out, oh, this one's higher or this one's lower, or, you know, maybe it's really difficult to tell. We're trying to build like a big picture of what this landscape was like, how all of This is really useful information.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Does that make sense? Yeah. And there you go, Just Flu. Definitely just sand. Yeah. Ronnie the Zombie says, I wanted to study archaeology but got a film degree instead. Nice. Yeah, archaeology is interesting. I don't think it's as interesting as paleontology, in my personal opinion. But, yeah. We made this point yesterday, too. There's a big difference between archaeology and paleontology. Archaeology is a study of human artifacts, human settlements, human civilizations and cultures. Archaeology is stuff that people made. Paleontology is a study of fossils. So, usually non-human creatures that go way further back in time. So, modern humans have been around for about 200,000 years, which is nothing, you know? The critters that paleontologists study, everything from fossil whales to fossil bacteria, like I was saying. You know, single-celled organisms go back well over 1 billion years into Earth's past. So, paleontology is a much broader field in that sense. So much more time to contend with when we're talking about fossils rather than human artifacts. Oh yeah. And you probably earn more money. This is true, Phoenix the archaeologist, and I'm not trying to badmouth archaeology here. It's just personal. I'm a paleontologist, you know. I'm on team paleo. But yeah. Phoenix the archaeologist is making the point that you might make more money in film than in archaeology. You'd probably make more money in archaeology than in paleontology too. There's probably at least 10 times as many archaeologists in the world than there are paleontologists, and there's probably 100 times as many jobs. I don't know if that, maybe not 100, but there's way more jobs in archaeology than there are in paleontology. Yeah, because again, archaeology, it's the study of human stuff, and human beings tend to be pretty interested in human stuff, you know? Go figure. The archaeology extends from, you know, pottery shards and arrowheads all the way up until, what is it, is it 80 years ago? Is that the cutoff for a lot of archaeological stuff? So if something is older than 80 years, it might be considered the domain of archaeologists. So like old Coca-Cola bottles and stuff like that, that's archaeology. It can be. We were hanging out with some archaeologists in Wyoming earlier this year, and they'll go out to sites and find everything from arrowheads to bullet casings, old tin cans, stuff like that. And that all helps tell the story of what humans were doing on the landscape going back hundreds or thousands of years. But yeah, that's nothing compared to the timeline that we're talking about as paleontologists. These rocks here are 130 million years old, give or take. And these are from the last period in the age of dinosaurs, the Cretaceous, So yeah. Come to France, you don't have to pay to excavate. We feed and house you, and we take beginners. That sounds great. Yeah. And Lesnar says, but there isn't a kinship between archaeology and paleontology, just on the fieldwork front? There is to a certain extent. I don't know. We've had archaeologists on our cruise before. But there is like a period in time where those overlap. So like if we're studying, like Josh was talking about yesterday, the Huntington mammoth, this big proboscidean, big mammoth, Columbian mammoth that they have in the museum in Price, that's in the because they're trying to tell the story of when the first people showed up in Utah, what were the animals that they were encountering? They would have seen mammoths and stuff. They hunted them. We know this for a fact. So that's kind of where paleontology and archaeology can kind of bleed together. But yeah, for the most part, they tend to be fairly separate, and we often have very different field methods. So Phoenix, the archaeologist watching right now, would be mortified probably to see our quarry because it's not nearly as tidy and precise and square as an archaeological quarry. So right here, we're just digging a big hole in the ground.
Looks like shit.
And we don't have the like right angles that you see in an archaeological dig, where you're digging like neat 1 meter square little pits. We don't have that kind of thing here. We've got bones all over the place, and if we were to dig 1 meter by 1 meter squares, we'd be digging through bones. Some of these bones are bigger than that. It's just that sort of precise linear work. It doesn't work in paleontology, you know, not for dinosaur fossils at least. But yeah. And the way to excavate is different. Paleo is in rocks, archaeo is in dirt. There you go, Phoenix. Yeah. I like to say that a lot. Like, we're digging in rock as paleontologists. Archaeologists are typically digging in soil, dirt, you know. Yeah. So like, we're actually digging in the bedrock. The bedrock is soft because it's sedimentary rock out here, mudstone, sandstone, stuff like that. But it is the bedrock. Archaeologists are not digging in bedrock because rock takes a long time to form, and it typically takes longer than, you know, the few thousand years that people have been around in any given place on Earth. If that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And activated complex says, I'm curious where the study of early modern humans becomes cross-disciplinary between archaeology and art pretty far back. Where we're into species of hominids that are not direct human ancestors. Yeah, so there's a name for that. It's called paleoanthropology. So it's like anthropology, but paleo. It's very old. So there's some overlap there between paleoanth and archaeology, and between paleoanth and paleontology. Yeah, there is. It's interesting how these fields kind of blend together at their borders. It isn't like a hard dividing line. It's more of a gradient, I guess. Yeah. And yeah, so when we're talking about like human ancestors from Africa from, you know, 1 million years ago, that's the domain of paleoanthropology. But you might have paleontologists who are on site who are also digging up all the other fossils that you find around these hominid bones. So fossil antelope, fossil invertebrates, snails and things like that, fossil birds, the predators of early humans, things like crocodiles and lions and stuff like that. That's paleontology. So part of the divide is between human and non-human. Part of the divide is age. Yeah. Everything is connected. It's true, Scoobs. Yeah. It's funny because this is something that I never answer this question. I never get this question as frequently as I do when I'm doing fieldwork and streaming it on Twitch. And I have an idea that maybe it's something to do with the Twitch audience, or a lot of people on Twitch are very into video games, and video games tend to be very cut and dry. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever really like voiced this idea before, but I've been kind of pondering this for a while. You know, in video games you have like discrete categories for different things, and even everything has its own discrete number of points. And you know, there's like a what do you call it? A hitbox? If you're playing like a shooter game, where it's like if it's outside of it, it's not a hit. If it's inside of it, it is a hit. You know, everything's very, if not binary, at least strictly delineated. And nature is not like that at all. And as scientists, when we're studying nature, you know, we have to embrace that nuance, those gray areas in between. That's the, you know, the air we breathe. That's the water we swim in, so to speak, as scientists. It's not like a video game, you know. So yeah. Scoob says so true. Diagonal says mathematical. Okay, yeah. You're exhausted. There you go, Charlie's Dragon. It's good to see you. Yeah. But yeah. And let's see. We had another question. From GRC Chris. Which is the museum with the coolest dinosaur collection that you've been to or that you know of? Oh boy, there's yeah. Oh, here, I'll answer that in a question, but we got another question from Fuzzy Hamster real quick. What do you do if you find human tools or people's bones? Well, shoot, if we find human remains at a site like this, well, we've been working this site. This museum and the museum from Denver, Colorado have been working this site for decades. And so that would mean that there's like a recent murder at the site, if you find human remains, you call the police. That's how these things go. Yeah, and we're familiar enough with osteology where we would recognize a human bone and would be like, oh, shoot. That's happened before. I've heard stories of people who have been out doing paleontological fieldwork, digging dinosaurs or other critters, and they're like, oh, shoot, that's a human skeleton over there on top of that ridge. We need to call the sheriff. And, yeah. But we're not going to find them in these rocks because these rocks are 130 million years old. This is about 130 million years before humans evolved, you know. But you might find, you know, something on top of a hillside or in some bushes or in a shallow grave or something like that if you're just kind of walking around looking. It does happen. It's not unheard of, I suppose. But, you know, all that stuff's really modern. You know, it's probably foul play. If you find a human skeleton out here, it's either from people who lived here in, you know, like indigenous people who were here fairly recently, or it's maybe foul play. Yeah. I had a question. Museum with the coolest collection of dinosaur fossils. I've been very lucky to work with various museums and collect fossils with them. In terms of like sheer number of dinosaur fossils, probably Museum of the Rockies. That's the museum where I was kind of trained at early on in my career. An incredible array of different dinosaurs from all across Montana. So many new species have been named based on Museum of the Rockies specimens. It's a truly remarkable place. Yeah, and then, but apart from that, you know, Museum of the Rockies doesn't do so much collecting anymore, unfortunately. So their collection hasn't really been growing in the way that it used to. They used to have probably the best field program in the world. I think a big, I don't know. I don't want to open this up to controversy too much, but I'll say a candidate for the museum that's kind of taken up that mantle, the museum that's kind of carried that forth into more recent years, would be the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson, North Dakota. It's a place that I visited and streamed from this past February 2025. Denver Fowler, my old crew chief, now runs that museum. He's the curator there. And he and Liz Friedman Fowler have this phenomenal field program where they go out every summer. They spend like 3 months in the field, and they dig up scads of dinosaurs, and they've got multiple new species. Some of them are still working on publishing, which is really exciting. So you'll be hearing about those in the next few years. And they punch well above their weight. It's a very small museum, but holy cow, they have one of the best field programs in the world. They do incredible work, and yeah, they're building a pretty impressive collections there too. They're currently trying to raise funds for a major expansion because their collection space is really small right now, but man, this is going to be one of the big museums in North America within the next few decades. They're really working on expanding. So that's a place to watch for sure. Yeah. Here, let me scroll back down through chat and try and catch up. Dragonfly6, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. RCat14 says, hi, mate. Hi, right back at you. How you doing? It's good to have you here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Sorry it took me so long to say hello. Just answering questions. Trying not to miss anything. Let's see. What's the Louvre of paleontology? Oh boy, there's a bunch of different museums around the world. It really depends what kind of critter you're talking about. And I'm saying this, I should put some more sunscreen on before I forget, especially on my face. But yeah, certain groups of organism have particularly good collections in one place or another, because certain places around the world, you might have a ton of really cool dinosaurs or a ton of really cool Pleistocene mammals. Some places have got a wealth of, I don't know, trilobites or things like ostracods or whatever else. Well, my sunscreen's in my bag in the quarry. That's okay. I'm gonna wait a little while. So yeah, it depends what kind of organism you're interested in. If you're talking about like tyrannosaurs, like T-Rex, for instance, Tyrannosaurus, the biggest collection of Tyrannosaurus fossils in the world is in Bozeman, Montana, at Museum of the Rockies. There's certain museums that, well, like they'll have the only known specimen of a particular kind of critter, like I don't know, they'll have the original holotype. Like, let's see, if we're talking about, let's say Carnotaurus. Everybody loves really cool horned theropod. There's one specimen of that animal that's ever been found, and that's at a museum down in Argentina. I forget which one. I don't think it's in Plaza Huincal. It's a different museum. So yeah, and like I said, different museums will develop really cool collections based on, well, maybe we'll talk to Josh about this actually real quick. Often like who's working there and who's running the field program, that'll determine like what kinds of things that they have in the collections. So like say you've got somebody who specializes in, I don't know, mosasaurs. Like Josh really likes mosasaurs, he's working on them. They're building up a mosasaur collection in the museum in Price at the Prehistoric Museum. So that's, something to consider too. Okay, can we bug you for a second, Josh?
Always.
I appreciate that. No, just got a question in chat about, like, what's the best paleontological museum in the world? And of course, it's the museum in Price.
Absolutely,
But,
100%.
no, I was trying to make.
Because I'm there.
I was trying to make the point that.
There.
Yeah. I was trying to make the point that like different museums are going to have different like emphases in their collection.
Absolutely.
What are some of the different factors that go into that? Like, what would lead a museum to have, say, a robust fossil rodent collection versus this or that kind of thing?
Usually it depends. It usually depends on the researchers that are there.
Yeah.
So if there's a curator who, in your example, is a mammal expert who works on rodents. Let's say somebody who works on Pleistocene rodents. Stuff from the Ice Age. They're probably going to go dig a lot of cave deposits, and that's going to produce a lot of rodents.
Yeah.
That might lead then to a big, robust rodent collection. Yeah, it really depends on a couple of factors. Some museums are very much, just all research all the time, whatever the curator is interested in.
Yeah.
And you'll see strengths of that museum shift through time depending on what the curator, what the research group is interested in. Some museums are very much have a geographic mission, kind of like the one I was talking about on stream yesterday for us, where it's basically history of life in eastern Utah.
Right.
As broad as that is.
So you're not going to be going out to Mongolia to collect dinosaurs or anything?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. Sure, there are some ways to make it relevant as far as the interconnection between
Utah
North America and Asia, which happens during a time period that is very well represented here in the Cedar Mountain Formation. But for the most part, it varies depending on the institution. Big institutions in general, like the American Museum or Yale Peabody, any of those, it's going to be researcher driven. Smaller museums, it's going to be more place based.
Nice. Yeah. So for your museum in particular, what are some things that you're interested in collecting for the museum? Like which aspects of your collection would you like to make more robust?
Yeah, so that's something I kind of because we have sort of a geographic mission, I kind of for the first 5 years said, all right, let's see what our strengths are, what they're going to be, what they could be. Kind of looking at the collection and seeing what the strengths were, what our weaknesses were, and where the opportunity was to expand our collections in our geographic footprint. So we have a big strength in the Cedar Mountain Formation, both because geographically it's all in eastern and central Utah, so within our museum's footprint. But then also just the history of people working with our museum over the years, like Jim Kirkland when he was at Dynamation over in Colorado, to reposit the fossils forever at our museum. But with that broad geographic mission, we didn't have a lot of Triassic fossils. We didn't have a lot of late Cretaceous fossils. So we started new projects in all of those different time periods where we had potential but didn't have those strengths in the collections.
Right.
So we're working in the Book Cliffs north of here in rocks that are about 75 million years old. Same thing down in Grand Staircase, similar age rocks between about 80 and 75. We're working in the North Horn where we had some fossils already, but that's a rock formation that spans the dinosaur extinction event. So we have fossils from both sides. So we've been hitting that pretty hard. And like if they had hired a Permian or Triassic guy or gal to work in this job, then they might have shifted more. Oh, we need more Permian and Triassic. We're going to spend all that time. But they hired a late Cretaceous person, so I said, well, we're missing we need way more late Cretaceous. So even at a small museum, it was a little bit of curator driven. So that's what we've been spending a lot of time on. We're definitely going to do more Triassic in the future.
Nice.
But because there's a big area just south of Price where the Triassic has basically never been explored. And we do have sites down there that we've discovered both since I started, but even before that. The late Cretaceous definitely something I'm into. But beyond that too, even building upon our strength of the Cedar Mountain Formation, that's why we took on this site, because it was an opportunity from a portion of the Cedar Mountain that we had essentially no fossils.
Right.
And now we have all of them we can store and more from this spot.
Which is one of the reasons why we might need some more money in order to be able to curate and prepare and just make sure that all these fossils are available for study by researchers. That's
for sure, for study, for exhibit, because it's well beyond the research that we're doing, but it's also educating the public about the history of life in eastern Utah. So it's a big thing that we do. But number one, you got to store these fossils somewhere. So that's
why we're collecting.
Exactly, yeah. And there's always been kind of a big dream of a new museum and a building that was partially built by the Civilian Conservation Corps during
during the 30s?
During the 30s, part of the New Deal. The other half of the museum was built in the early 90s, and for some reason the part built in the 30s is better. But I guess that's how it goes. But at the very least, we definitely need a new storage facility. Because right now we're in the basement of an old hospital in the morgue. And
it's appropriate, I suppose.
Yeah. The dead back then and the dead now. Absolutely. The thing is, with fossils in Utah, we have so many resources. We don't have enough space in all of the museums in Utah to store them, which is why folks from all over the continent come to Utah to dig fossils and take them back to their museums, because we can't have them all here.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and this is really impressive. I haven't actually seen this yet. So the jacket from last year there.
It is, yeah. So this was all exposed. The problem with this area, and we're gonna have shade tarps on it tomorrow, so this will be kind of easier to see. The challenge over here is that all of this was in the topsoil. So it's within the weathering horizon, so the bone does not look as nice as how it does over in the quarry to the west where we're digging in bedrock. So like this piece of osteoderm right here, this piece of armor, it's, it'll go back together, but,
it's not the prettiest,
Yeah, it's not great. You can even see like the internal structure of the bone is just not as nice.
And there's part of the problem, there's a root just sticking out of it.
Yeah.
It's a modern plant root.
And that's the thing, you know, if you're you know, just working in the topsoil, you're not going to get the really nice bone.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna keep working back. You know, we're collecting what we can here. That you know, what's nice enough to preserve. This one's kind of marginal. We'll probably collect it and see if it preps out good enough. But this right here, that's jacketed from last year, that's a bone called the scapula coracoid, which is basically the shoulder of these critters. And to get it out, it's kind of like pickup sticks.
Yeah.
We got to pull that and that and that and that. Got to get that out. Hope there's not too many bones underneath, and then we'll be able to pull this. So yeah. And there are a couple of nice bones like that. Right there is a plate. It doesn't look like much, I'm sure, on camera. It might look better under a shade tarp tomorrow, but essentially, so that's going to be the base of the plate over there, I think. And
big
then
armor plate, big osteoderm.
yeah. So this is one of the osteoderms, one of the plates coming off the side of the body.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
Hard to tell right now, kind of from the trunk or from the tail, but somewhere in there.
Cool.
And yeah, we've got, I mean, this is just a big concretion, big hard rock that we can't really rip out because we've got bone on top of it. Probably a little section of rib right there. Yeah, lots of bones.
Wild. It's crazy just seeing so many here.
Totally, yeah. So far over here in this pit, we do get more bigger bones versus over there where we haven't found as many, say, big shoulder blades or anything like that. You know, we've gotten over there last year. We pulled out a sacrum, so basically the vertebrae between the hips of the animal. It was a big jacket about that big, probably not even a fully grown animal. So yeah, we've gotten a lot of big material over here, which is why I'm continuing to work this versus over there where we seem to have a lot of ribs, a lot of osteoderms, and a few smaller limb bones as well. So we might even be seeing an example of sorting where you've got bigger bones that were deposited over here during this flow event versus smaller
Then we'll be
stuff.
further away from the river. It's like the lighter stuff gets carried further, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why we're working both sides here.
Nice. Cool. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Awesome. You know, it'll be neat to get the shade tarps over here and maybe do some digging over here tomorrow too. But yeah. And could we get a quick story about how the site was found originally, please? Well, I guess I can bug Josh about that.
Totally.
How the site was first discovered.
I can talk and brush. I'm just cleaning this up right now.
But,
what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, how was the site originally discovered? Maybe tell the story, the tale of Lori McWhinney.
Yeah, so the Denver Museum, is one of those things where the curator at the time over there, Ken Carpenter, was interested in early Cretaceous dinosaurs. So they were doing a lot of work in the Cedar Mountain Formation over here, in part because we've got better early Cretaceous, lower Cretaceous rocks than they have over in Colorado. So yeah, he had a mission. He wanted to find as many sites in the Cedar Mountain as possible. And so he brought these big crews over, trying to prospect all over. And they did find a bunch of sites. They didn't find all of them, but this is one of them. So one of his volunteers, Lori McWhinney, was prospecting through here and found some bones weathering out. They kind of honed in on this spot and realized, oh, there are bones coming out all over the place in this area. They actually excavated quite a few different quarries over their more than 10 years at the site. So they had different pits that they were digging. The one that we're working over there, where we're actually down in nice bedrock, that was one of their old excavations. So they have some bones from there. Really didn't have any bones from here. This wasn't a previous excavation, but when I came to check out the site when we were planning to reopen it, there were a lot of nice looking bones that were coming out and that were just weathering out on the surface. So I said, well, to mitigate that, it'd be worthwhile to open this up and explore that. But even just right there, you can see another excavation that that they were running. So they had, I don't know, 20 something maybe pits around here that they all had bones from, and over a 2-acre area. Not too surprising.
It's a huge area to find bones. That's really impressive. If you were to estimate how long you could continue working this site, How many years do you think?
Do I get unlimited space to store the fossils in your scenario?
Yes.
Until I retire. Until I die. Yeah. And that's not even...
Whichever comes first.
Yeah. Oh, God. I think my wife's watching the stream now. The thing is, just thinking about how much we've removed in 2 years, we've gotten over 1,000 bones in 2 field seasons.
Nice.
And
how many do you suspect we'll get this year?
Probably I'd say at least 500.
Wow.
We didn't get as many the year we were filming Walking with Dinosaurs, just because. So multiple takes. Say that again. Just don't use that word. That kind of thing. But yeah, last year we haven't even finished prepping everything we collected last year because of our lab renovation. But we'll get over 500.
Nice.
This year, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Just based on what how well we did last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just from 2 excavations where we haven't moved that much rock.
Right.
This goes back into the hill that way because we find bones weathering out down the hill that way, and it goes a football field that way and a football field that way.
That is impressive.
So
yeah,
we could spend our time only working this site for 10 weeks out of the year, for another 30 years, and we wouldn't.
But you've got so many other places to be in Utah, so many other sites
like
to
I
work.
said, the Lake Cretaceous. Our
Exactly.
museum needs more of the Lake Cretaceous. We have to have it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. And again, if any of you are interested in supporting the work that we're doing here, we've got a donation link for the Prehistoric Museum. And have you put anything on the wish list? Probably
Any new stuff?
Any new stuff?
I mean, right now I've got the 2 most important things: 2 Yeti coolers
Yeah.
and about 15 GPS units. So.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
those are the greatest needs. I'm sitting around racking my brain on things that.
If you think of something, throw it on there. And,
kind of.
Because those are big ticket items. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to afford to drop $1,000 on a cooler for.
I know.
But we would be thoroughly impressed if anybody did. I don't want to.
Yeah, if anybody can, you know, it'd be great. We'll even write your name on it.
There
put
we go,
stickers on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put your Instagram handle, whatever you want. I mean, other things too, like low dollar items like pots and pans. We can go to Walmart and get that. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of a balance there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like paleontologists, we reuse so many things. It's kind of a poverty science where we've got this mentality of, okay, I can't throw this away because I might need it someday. Like all this metal, some of it we've had in the museum for like 20 years. And I said, I've got a use for it now.
We've got pots and pans at the Utah Geological Survey. These things are like 30 or 40 years old in some cases, and it's like they don't work anymore, but we still keep them around.
I mean, we might need to whack someone over that. I guess. I don't know.
But anyway, thanks, John. Yeah. So this is kind of nice. We're getting a breeze picking up, cooling things off a little, and honestly, it's really nice to have the mesh shade tarps over the side of that. They're not catching the wind as much. I like how that's working. But
you don't think that can?
And there you go, throne wish list. That would be a great idea, Vexy. Yeah. I had them do that at the museum in North Dakota, at Denver Fowler's Museum, and it worked pretty well. I should talk to Josh about that. That's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about it. Yeah. Daily Desk, was any finds today, Danny? Tons of new bones. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, hold on. Camera.
And Lord Jeebus says, how many dinosaurs are excavated per year on average? Is that a measurable statistic? It's not, no. But I actually, this is a project that I'm working on. The nearest we can get to that kind of number is how many new genera or species of dinosaurs are published each year. I'll tell you about that in just a minute, but first let me get some water, because that water bottle is empty now. The sun is low enough in the sky, I can put my backpack outside and it's not going to get fried. So let me pull that out. Old rucksack. There we are. Drink some water. But yeah, I presented on this at the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meeting last year. The poster was called "The Pace of Dinosaur Discovery," and it's not really the pace of discovery per se, because it's hard to put real numbers on that. What we can put numbers on is how many things get published each year, because that's like a nice discrete date when it gets published. That's it's easy to get numbers on that. Here, let me drink some water. We'll get into that. Hang on just a sec. There we go. So yeah, for that project, I was only looking at the past decade, so from 2015 until, at the time, October 2024. And on average, there were, what was it? I think it was 35.4 new dinosaur species, or dinosaur genera, published each year. So each year, 35 new dinosaurs. Not all of these are going to be valid. There's a lot of caveats like that. Some of these are going to turn out to be this, something that's already been named. Some of them turn out to be dubious, stuff like that. But that's the general pace. So it's about one new dinosaur every 9.5 days. The record for the decade was 2019. There were, I think, 47 new dinosaur genera and species published. The low, I think, was in the high 20s or 30. I forget. I don't have the thing in front of me, but yeah, it's fairly frequently that new dinosaurs get discovered, and then it might take years or decades in between the initial discovery and then when the thing finally gets published. So some of these dinosaurs that were published in, say, 2019, they were discovered back in the 70s or 80s. And it took that long to actually get them published. Sometimes these things just languish in a museum drawer until somebody finally has the opportunity to really study it in earnest and then publish on it. Yeah, and then there's some other cases where something really important gets discovered and it's less than a year before it gets published. It depends. It kind of runs the gamut between less than a year and decades. But yeah. It looks like this year we are potentially on track for a new record. We've got 30-something new dinosaurs this year in 2025. Been published this year, 2025. And yeah, if you kind of project that out to the rest of the year, we will tie or maybe exceed 2019. It'll be 47, maybe 48 new dinosaurs this year. We'll see, Yeah, and some of these are just missing the year by a hair. That might be published on January 1st, 2026, So it's there's a level of arbitrariness about all of that. But it's something that I'm really interested in. I'm really interested not just in the science itself and figuring out the world that the dinosaurs lived in and what they were like and all of this, how they related to each other, how they evolved, how they lived, all that. I'm also interested in kind of the meta-science of paleontology, How well is our science doing? Are we getting funding? Are new paleontologists being trained? Are new finds being made? And at what rate? How can we improve things for the future of our science? All of that stuff. I'm interested in that too, and this project is kind of part and parcel of that. Yeah. And, yeah. Have you ever found a new dinosaur fossil that you got to name? Not yet, Daily Dasp. I've found new dinosaurs, but I haven't gotten to name them. Yeah, I can't quite comment on that yet, but there might be an exciting reason why. Again, I can't comment on that yet. And almost a new dinosaur for every week of the year, says Charlie's Dragon. Yeah. But anywho. And geez, it's actually a lot, says Ronnie the Zombie. Yeah, for sure. Now, I think a lot of people are surprised by that. A lot of folks, especially people a little bit older than me, maybe, When they're used to thinking about dinosaurs, they're used to thinking about the same 5 or 6 dinosaurs. You know, you got your T-Rex, you got your Brontosaurus, maybe you've got your Diplodocus, and your Stegosaurus, and your Triceratops, and your Pterodactyl, which is not actually a dinosaur, it's a pterosaur. And that's mostly what they know. A few other people are familiar with dinosaurs, maybe like Utahraptor or Spinosaurus. Velociraptor is one that's famous post-Jurassic Park. Yeah. There's well over 1,000 different dinosaur genera that have been named. And genus is the one level above species, so like Tyrannosaurus rex. Tyrannosaurus is the genus, Rex is the species. There's well over 1,000 dinosaur genera that have been named that are valid. 1,000 total genera that have been named. Worth of streams about all of these concepts. There's so much to talk about. But that's the point. There's so much to talk about. There's so much, like, paleontology is one of these sciences that's moving quickly, so quickly forward. You know, we're discovering new things all the time. Our perception of dinosaurs, our conception of dinosaurs, has been like completely overturned within the past 50 years. It's kind of amazing how much we've learned about these animals, how much our thinking about them has changed. Like Jim Kirkland is fond of saying, these are the good old days. This right now is currently the golden age of dinosaur paleontology. And yeah, I'm happy to be active in this field at this time, even if it's tricky. Like we're having a rough patch right now, and that funding is so hard to come by. But that's true across all of the sciences, pretty much, in the U.S. right now. But we'll make it through this, you know. Yeah. Hope to find some dinosaur footprints. Very cool. I like lots of pizza. Neat. Yeah. Dinosaur footprints are actually more common than dinosaur body fossils. In the sense that, like, I don't know, these animals left a lot of footprints when they were walking around, when they were alive. They only left one skeleton each, you know? And in certain places in the world, dinosaur footprints are all over the place. St. George, Utah is one of those places. It's really cool. Yeah, you would talk to people like the late Martin Lockley. He'd tell you dinosaur footprints more common than dinosaur body fossils. They left a lot of footprints. And if you know where to look, you find them all over the place. Really cool. Me digging and finding some was expected. There you go. Nice. And why don't we hear about dinosaur footprints more, asked Fuzzy Hamster. I think part of that is sometimes there's a hesitancy to talk about them too much because they're stuck in the ground. And we don't want to announce their presence because people will go and try and steal them. I thought that was a rattlesnake for a second, but that's this bush right here. Evolved to sound like a rattlesnake. It's got these hollow, like, seed pod things in here. Yeah, that's funny. So it wouldn't get trampled by by bison or whatever. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think there's two main things driving why you don't hear about dinosaur footprints as much as you hear about dinosaur bones. We can pull these bones out of the ground, bring them back to the museum, and study them, and then they're safe, you know? It's a lot harder to do with footprints. If you want to go study dinosaur footprints, they're more ephemeral. Like, they're there on the surface, and they're eroding away when they're on the surface. You go there and you study them, and you often try and keep the location a secret because the public shows up, especially in places like Utah. For whatever reason, Utah seems to have a big problem with this. People will come and destroy them. That's just a thing. The other thing is that there's not as many people studying dinosaur footprints as there are studying dinosaur fossils. Footprints in some ways are much more challenging. It's difficult to tell what particular kind of dinosaur left a particular kind of footprint. There's very few cases when we can actually point to a particular genus and species of dinosaur that left a particular footprint in a place because, you know, we have their skeletons, but we don't necessarily know, like, the anatomy of their soft tissue. So it can be really difficult to match a particular kind of footprint to a particular kind of dinosaur, which is why we have separate names for the footprints, for the footprint morphologies. Yeah. Footprints can be super informative. They can tell you, hey, this particular kind of animal, it was walking through this area, you know, here's the shape of its feet, here's the speed at which it was moving, here's the environment that it's moving through, here's various behaviors that it's exhibiting. Maybe it's walking and then it stops and then it sits down and then it gets up and it starts running. Maybe it's moving down from a shoreline into a lake, and you can see those walking tracks turn into swimming tracks as the animal is buoyed up by the water and it's kicking with its feet against the bottom before the water gets deep enough for the footprints to disappear, the swim tracks to disappear. Stuff like that. But again, trying to match that to a particular kind of animal can be really difficult. So yeah. Anywho, does that make sense? Yeah, there's not as many people who specialize in dinosaur tracks. And we lost probably the giant in the field a couple years ago. Martin Lockley passed away a couple Novembers ago, and that was, yeah, it was really sad. Martin was the guy for dinosaur tracks out here in the western U.S. And yeah, but there's so much to be studied. You know, there's so many cool things we can learn from footprints. So there's definitely, definitely room in the field for study. Like, we need more people studying fossil tracks. They're really important. But there's not many people doing it yet. Wait, Danny, are there swim tracks? Yeah, Daily Dasp. We saw some of them back in, what was it, March and April, when we were in St. George, Utah. That's famous for dinosaur swim tracks. Really cool. So it shows that dinosaurs swam. Probably pretty good at it. And it's more common than you would think. And yeah, it's neat. It's pretty. Vexy says, what's the reason people intentionally destroy fossils? It's often not intentional. It's often like people show up and they're like, oh, I think I want to get this thing out of the ground. So they show up hammers and chisels and they try and take it out of the ground, but it's a footprint in solid rock and they end up just destroying it because they don't know what they're doing. Or people will sometimes try and make like a mold and cast of it, and they'll often destroy it that way. They'll like pour plaster into it and they don't know what they're doing, so they break it. Or sometimes people are just careless, thoughtless, selfish, and they're like, there's a cool thing, let's break it, you know? In the same way that people will kick over hoodoos and cool rock formations and stuff like that just because they can, I guess. I don't know. You got a lot of selfish, thoughtless people in the world, and that's why we're often hesitant to like publicize where dinosaur tracks are found, because we don't want people showing up and breaking them. Yeah. Yeah. Gay Hibiscus says, human wanton destruction is hard to understand. Look at people who hunt for sport and not food. People who destroy for reasons we don't really get. I mean, yeah. And if you were to ask somebody, like, they might be able to give you a reason, but it might not be a reason that you or I find convincing, you know? Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. Hey, Jody Fish, how are you doing? Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Yeah. And Toilet Gator says, I watch mine exploration videos, and they have to keep everything secret because people will go tramp all over the cool stuff in there. Miners' footprints hundreds of years old wiped out because some goofball didn't look where they were putting their... Exactly. Yeah. It's the same idea, pretty much. Except that sounds even more delicate than dinosaur tracks. But yeah. And very funny, Diatoms Attack. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome. If anybody wants to see a different side of paleontology, and modern biology too, check out Diatoms Attack. Yeah, who works on diatoms, these incredibly important microorganisms that produce a tremendous amount of oxygen for us to breathe. They help us to study ancient environments and modern environments too. The diatoms are super, super important organisms, and Diatoms Attack is a real-life researcher studying those critters. And occasionally streaming here on Twitch, too. When was the last time you did a stream, Diatoms Attack?
There's nothing in
They're like dinosaurs, but really small. There you go. They've, you know, same number of syllables. Starts with die, you know? Yeah, same thing. 2 weeks ago, maybe. Oh, nice. I'm glad you've done recent streams, Diatoms Attack. That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Diatoms are not like dinosaurs, Siske Hibiscus. I mean, yeah, well, sure, dinosaurs tend to be a bit larger. They tend to be macroscopic. Not tend to be. As a rule, dinosaurs are macroscopic. You can see them with the naked eye. You know, and they don't photosynthesize. They're not planktonic organisms, all that good stuff. But, you know, they're important objects of scientific study. But no, I don't think anybody's likely to mix up dinosaurs and diatoms. Quite think. Yeah. And GRC Chris says, I googled which museum has the biggest Brachiosaurus and was surprised it said it's Berlin, Germany. That's incorrect, GRC Chris. Technically. Which is, as everyone knows, the best kind of correct is technically correct. Or technically incorrect. So, well, actually, the Brachiosaur that's on display at the Museum für Naturkunde, did I say that right? In Berlin, Germany, that is no longer considered Brachiosaurus. It is a Brachiosaur. It's a member of the Brachiosaur family. And when it was first named, it was named Brachiosaurus bronchi. It's from Tanzania in East Africa. It was dug up in there in the 1910s by German paleontologists and by a lot of local people too, who are often not credited. Anyway, it was named Brachiosaurus bronchi, but the original Brachiosaurus is from Colorado here in the U.S. Actually, not too far that way, just to the east of where we are, over the Utah-Colorado border. Yeah, where was that? Where's Brachiosaurus discovered? I want to say it was like near Garden Park, Colorado, something like that. Anywho, in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, some paleontologists were looking at these two critters from Tanzania and from Colorado, and they're like, shoot, the one from Tanzania looks awful different. It's a member of the Brachiosaur family, but we don't think we should call it Brachiosaurus anymore. We think it deserves a new name. And so it's been renamed Giraffatitan bronchi. So from Brachiosaurus bronchi to new genus Giraffatitan bronchi. So technically, strictly speaking, the one in Germany is no longer Brachiosaurus. So there you go. But it is the largest mounted fossil dinosaur skeleton in the world. Largest, or at least the tallest. It's very impressive. I've never seen it in person, but I've heard from colleagues. It is something to see. Yeah. But yeah. And Murph says, we just haven't been looking small enough to find the micro dinos. Maybe, Murph. I know you're kidding. Yeah. But, yeah. And let's see. And Daily Dust was, what is adaptation theory? I hear it a lot. The source believes evolution isn't real, but oh boy. Yeah, so this is something that I've had to deal with a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of folks who are really scared of the word evolution, and so they'll try and use other words to say essentially the same thing. I don't know. It's frustrating because sometimes religious leaders will like tell their followers, oh, well, this one scientific idea, you can't believe this because we don't like that. It's like, we know that living things change over time. We know that sometimes, you know, those changes are passed on generation to generation. And then, you know, that's what evolution is, you know? And a lot of folks okay with that idea, but if you call it evolution, then suddenly it's not. I kind of get the impression that that's what do you call it, adaptation theory or something like that? They're just calling it by a different name so that it sounds more acceptable to their particular religious sect or whatever. But, yeah. This is the thing, is that evolution is easily one of the best supported ideas in all of science, you know? It is the fundamental organizing principle in biology, you know? I think it was Theodore Dobzhansky who famously said, nothing in biology makes sense except in the light of evolution, you know? We know that living things change over time. We know that those changes, those heritable changes passed on generation to generation, you get small changes over time that accumulate into big changes over a big amount of time. That's what evolution is. There's various mechanisms that drive evolution. Natural selection, genetic drift, sexual selection, founder effect, stuff like that. So there's like a lot of nuance and interesting complexity there for sure, but the point is living things change over time. Generation to generation, they change. But I think that carries a lot of like philosophical baggage for some folks where they don't want to call it evolution, or if they are kind of okay with that word evolution, they don't want to think that as applying to human beings. Special. We can't be part of the natural world. We can't be an organism. Organisms on our planet. You know, we have to be something different and special and like categorically distinct. But we know that's not true. We are living things, and we evolved from earlier living things. It doesn't make us not worthy of respect or awe or dignity, you know? If anything, I think that's so much cooler that we are in the natural world, that we're part of this history of life on Earth. We are a part of nature. We have kinship with every other organism on our planet. You go back far enough and we share a common ancestor with every other critter. From, you know, our hominid ancestors and relatives, other primates, to other mammals, to other amniotes, things like dinosaurs, all the way down to diatoms. These photosynthetic microorganisms. We as human beings, if you go back far enough in time, we share common ancestry with those critters too. You got to go back a long, long way. Like well over 1 billion years probably, before you get to where our ancestry links up with the ancestry of modern diatoms. But yeah, where's my tree of life diagram that I got here? There we go. This is one that I haven't broken out yet this field season. So, the tree of life. There's, that's Homo sapiens, Homo sapiens right there. I say as I belch rudely, excuse me. But we're part of the mammal branch on the tree of life. So there's some of our relatives, lots of mammals, lions and tigers and bears, dugongs and aardvarks and elephants, platypus and things like that. And then you have dinosaurs over here on the reptile branch, which eventually leads to birds too. And you can trace that all the way back to the origin of life here, some single-celled organism, what we like to refer to as Luca, the last universal common ancestor. So, plants are over here. Diatoms would be somewhere over yonder. Yeah, it's photosynthetic organisms. Diatoms aren't plants per se, but they are photosynthetic. So all of life on Earth, as far as we know, evolved from one single ancestral proto-life form. Something that would have been a single-celled organism, something that would have been before cells first evolved. Maybe their external architecture was part of an undersea vent or something like that. I think the general consensus that's starting to form when we're talking about the origins of life is that the first living thing didn't actually have a cellular structure. It was basically like amino acids that would replicate themselves inside of an external thing like cavities in an undersea vent or something like that. It's really cool stuff, and I'd love to be able to interview a specialist about this at some point in the near future. But, yeah. Anywho. And And Shiva MT says, what if there were a few proto-life forms that survived and evolved? There almost certainly were a few at the beginning, but the idea, we think, is that at some point those different ones merged. So there were probably several different like origins of life on Earth, and eventually they kind of came together. Some of them ate each other, and some of them literally like joined forces, and that's where we get the eukaryotic cell. So this idea of endosymbiosis. So all of the cells in our body, or most of the cells in our body at least, they have a nucleus inside, right? Nucleus holds all the genetic material. It's like the brain of the cell. Sometimes it's described as, it's probably an oversimplification, but there's a general consensus that we have nowadays that those used to be separate things. There used to be like the cell and then the nucleus. These were essentially different organisms, and one of them engulfed the other, and they kind of teamed up. I don't know a whole lot about this. This is outside of my realm of expertise. I don't know a lot about endosymbiosis, but that's the general idea. You can find more information online if you're curious about this. But, yeah. So even if there were like multiple origins of life, they did kind of converge at one point to become the last universal common ancestor. So everything alive today is descended from that union there. And we think that because all living things today have DNA. So that was a characteristic that last universal common ancestor had, and so everybody got from that ancestor. Does that make sense? Yeah. But yeah. And Morrison, man, endosymbiosis, it's awesome. Yeah, it is. I don't know enough about it. It's, again, outside of my field. I've never studied that personally. I've never written any papers on it, nothing like that. But there are people who work on this, people who have discovered this. They've devoted their careers to deciphering those mysteries, figuring it out. And it's still ongoing, But yeah, let's see. And eukaryotes did it twice, mitochondrion in animals and then also chloroplasm. I didn't know that, Morrison, man. That's really cool. Rainstorm Fur, thank you, Claire Burr, for reposting. Has there ever been a dinosaur found with polydactyly? I don't think so. So polydactyly is that's like a condition where you grow extra fingers almost accidentally. It's like you could call it a defect or whatever. It's common today in certain organisms like cats. In feral colonies of cats, you might get polydactyly, where a cat might have 6 fingers on its front or back paws. I'm not sure what's more common. You get this in certain groups of people with not a lot of genetic diversity. So I've heard that people in like Amish communities are sometimes born with 6 fingers. Yeah. Have we ever seen this in a dinosaur? Not to my knowledge. Like a one-off like that, like somebody who was born with polydactyly? I don't know. Again, we don't have that many dinosaur fossils in general that are complete enough that, it'd be really interesting to look at like some of the stuff coming out of Liaoning in China, because you might have 100 or maybe even 1,000 individual dinosaur skeletons that are all mostly or entirely complete. Same spot, little dinosaurs. And if it had like an odd number of fingers, if it had an extra finger, that would be really interesting, but that's never been reported to my knowledge. Instead, the general trend for dinosaurs is to decrease their number of digits. So dinosaurs start off with 5 fingers early in their evolution. Back in the Triassic period, the first dinosaurs had 5 fingers on each hand. And then slowly over time, as dinosaurs evolve, you get these different groups that arise, and the overall trend is to reduce the number of digits. So 5 fingers is the primitive condition, and then you go on through the dinosaur family tree, and again, the tendency is to decrease the number of fingers. In evolution, it's much easier to lose a structure than it is to gain one like that. It's called Dollo's law. We could talk about that another time. But yeah, here we go. So on our dinosaur family tree, dinosaurs start right here, and you get these different groups that evolve. And so the first dinosaur that evolved had 5 fingers that it inherited from its non-dinosaur ancestors. And then Yeah, dinosaurs like Coelophysis have, I don't know if it's 5 or 4 fingers on each hand, but that's one of the first theropod dinosaurs. Spinosaurs only have 3 fingers on each hand. And that condition is conserved in birds too. Birds have 3 fingers on each hand. It's all kind of, enmeshed in a wing, so those fingers are fused together, but they've got 3 of them. You can actually see this in like Hoatzin chicks, this really cool bird from South America. The chicks actually have claws on their fingers still, and they've got 3 of them. Anyway, other dinosaurs like tyrannosaurs. Later on, the tyrannosaurids evolved to only have 2 fingers per hand. They just have kind of like a little leftover splint of digit 3. And then you get other dinosaurs like alvarezsaurs, things like Mononychus and Trirarchuncus. And those guys, they've heavily reduced their other digits, so they just have a big thumb left. And some of these guys, they might lose the other digits altogether. We're not totally sure. So they might only have 1 thumb on each hand. So a hand with 1 digit. Pretty cool, yeah. There's only one kind of dinosaur that's lost all of its fingers. In fact, it no longer has arms anymore. Who can tell me what that is? I've asked. I'd play the Jeopardy music if we had it. But, yeah. And very clumsy all thumbs. There you go, Titus attack, yeah. And yep, it is the Moa, Starmy 006. Yeah, Moa obviously, says Morrison Man. I didn't know this until fairly recently, but Moas are the only group of dinosaurs that have completely lost their arms altogether. They're extinct now, unfortunately. People saw to that. People hunted them to extinction, ate their eggs. There are no Moa, unfortunately. They're all gone. But yeah, they didn't have arms. No remnant of a wing. Ostriches, rheas, kiwis, cassowaries, they all have wings. They're just very, I would say underdeveloped is not the right word. They're vestigial, for the most part. Moas didn't even have that. No humerus, no radius and ulna, certainly no carpals or phalanges. I don't think they even have a scapula anymore, but I could be wrong. In fact, I'm not totally sure about that. But anyway, no arms to speak of on Moa. They got rid of them. They didn't need them. Yeah. The Moa are no Moa. It's true, Diatom's attack. It's unfortunate. Yeah. And ostriches show their wings when they're annoyed. That's true, they do. Or when they're trying to impress a potential mate. So males will show off the females, and they'll do this thing where they'll kind of squat down on their hindquarters, and then they'll throw their head and neck back and forth, and they'll puff up their wings on either side, and they'll kind of like try to hide their head behind the wings. It's really cool. If you get a chance to look up video of an ostrich displaying like that, it's pretty nifty. Yeah. Yeah. A funny dance, yep. Yeah. Claire Burr says, since the new fossil evidence of the evolution of penguins tie them to New Zealand, Conrad proposes we stop calling New Zealanders Kiwis and start calling them penguins. I think that might be confusing, but he can certainly do that, yeah. Yeah. My objection to that is that penguins are found on multiple continents nowadays. Antarctica, Australia, Africa, and South America. Whereas kiwis are only from one continent, or one landmass. One archipelago, I'll say. New Zealand. So yeah. Kiwi are unique to New Zealand. Penguins aren't. But I like the idea, though. Yeah. Or wetas. Yeah, there you go, yeah. 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 Seems they indeed lost their scapula as well. That's nuts, Barson, man. Wow. And penguins expanding their borders, says Lordy. People think of penguins being from Antarctica. Or if people are a little bit more geographically challenged, they think of them being from the Arctic. They're not. Penguins are today only in the southern hemisphere, unless they're in zoos or whatever. They're only found in the wild in the southern hemisphere. But, yeah. But penguins are, of course, from Antarctica. Also, there are penguin populations blue penguin, the little blue penguin, is from Australia. You've got, I think it might be called the African penguin, or South African penguin, is from Southern Africa. From South Africa, and maybe also from some other nearby nations too, along the coast. And I'm pretty sure there's penguins in South America as well, along like Tierra del Fuego. I'm not as confident about that, but yeah. And I don't know if we get penguins in New Zealand nowadays. But the early fossil history of penguins, New Zealand is the hotspot to find their fossils. That might be where they first evolved, was in New Zealand. So they're pretty cool. And they were like big 6-foot-tall penguins with a beak like half a meter long. Penguins used to be big. Like, they started off big, which is cool to think about. Yeah. Humboldt's in South America. Thank you, Marcy, man. Yeah. Yeah. And New Zealand, too. Thank you, Charlie's Dragon. Okay. Oh, the Galapagos Islands, too. Yeah, there you go, Dr. Tara. There are penguins in the Galapagos, aren't there? Yeah. Which today is part of Ecuador. It's part of their territory. But, yeah, that's South America. Yeah. English teacher in Argentina who stayed. Oh, very cool, Kleber. Nice. Yeah. Daily Dasp has got a great question. Are turtles related to dinosaurs? Yes, but not super closely. Here. Here, maybe we'll ask Josh about that, maybe I'll just explain it. So, for a long, long time, turtles were this big mystery. Like, where did turtles come from? What kind of reptile are they? What are they related to? They're so unlike every other reptile around today that, nothing else has got a shell like that, or a beak quite like that. Turtles are extremely weird in that, like their shell, their carapace, is partly made out of their ribs. So they're almost kind of inside out in a way. So like their shoulder blade, their scapula, is inside of the rib cage, where ours is on the outside. You can go like this and you can feel your shoulder blade, and it's outside of your rib cage. It's on your back. With turtles, it's flipped. They've got their shoulder blade inside of their rib cage because their rib cage helps to form their carapace, their upper shell. So animals, and like, what in the world are they doing? Where did they come from? Who are they related to? It's been a big mystery for a long time. For a while, they were considered anapsid reptiles. So like, they don't have any holes to speak of in their skull. Then usually the holes, the fenestrae in the skull, are a way to help classify different animals because they change a lot as they grow. They change a lot as these animals evolve. So yeah, anywho, nowadays, there's a general consensus that's formed, and it seems to be holding up pretty well, that turtles, in fact, this isn't even quite right. Yeah, so they don't really show that here. So turtles right here, they seem to be here near the base of like Archosauria. So we've got dinosaurs that start here. Dinosaurs are a kind of ornithodyrene reptile. Pterosaurs are another branch that come off of that. Your flying reptiles, or pterodactyls, are over here. And then outside that group, you've got modern crocodilians and their ancient relative. Some of them walked on land, kind of like a dinosaur. Yeah. So this group here, dinosaurs, pterosaurs, crocs, these are called archosaurs. That node right there is called Archosauria. There's a general consensus that's forming that turtles are just outside of that branch. So turtles are part of Archosauria plus turtles form a clade that is now being called Ankylosauria. So turtles would be much more closely related to dinosaurs than something like lizards. Lizards aren't very close at all. I guess they are diapsids, but whatever. So in terms of animals today that are closely related to dinosaurs, number one, obviously, is birds. Birds literally are dinosaurs. They evolved directly from dinosaurs, thus birds are dinosaurs. Second most closely related group nowadays would be crocs, crocodilians. And then third would be turtles. So In order to get to the common ancestor of dinosaurs and turtles, you'd have to go way back into the Permian period, probably. So we're talking like 270 million years ago or something like that, most likely, before the origins of Archosauria. So yes, turtles do seem to be related to dinosaurs, but they're still closer than lizards, you know? Certainly closer than Tuatara. Tuatara and lizards would be equally closely related to dinosaurs, as would snakes. Yeah. And no, we haven't found any turtles yet. We're hoping to find some here, Berrien, but no, none yet from this site. Yeah. And, yeah. Wikipedia gives 260 million years ago as the origin of Ankylosauria. That might be the case. I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out. I just threw out 270 because it sounded like I'm trying to be generous and give them enough time to develop, but, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. And any other types of dinosaurs out there aside from ankylosaurs? Asked Vexy. Not yet. No. Well, actually, no. We did have a toe bone of what looked like an ornithopod that we found yesterday. So it could be an iguanodontian dinosaur. But for the most part, what's really weird is at this site here, we've got hundreds upon hundreds of bones, and 99% of them, more than 99%, are all ankylosaur bones. It's strange that like all of these critters seem to be ankylosaurs. Yeah, these armored dinosaurs. Like, are they showing up in the alerts, by the way? I made new Gastonia alerts. Is that working? Are they showing up there? When we get a new follow or something like that. I think the new follow alerts are supposed to be Gastonia. Vexy says yes. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I spent a while working on those, so good. Yeah, Gastonia is a very cool, prickly, four-legged plant-eating dinosaur, heavily armored, big old spikes. Here we go. Gastonia. So this is the best model I could find of this critter. Very cool. Here, let's put it on top of this. This is not the sort of animal you'd want to get into a fight with. It would mess you up. Yeah. Yeah, really stout, four-legged plant-eating dinosaur. Big, big, big defensive spikes. Lots of armor plates all over the top side of its body. Cool critter. So we've got at least 40 individuals of this animal that have come from this site. We're probably talking closer to like hundreds of individuals from here, actually. But 40 is our conservative number based on like single elements. So like the number that Josh used to calculate that is the occipital condyle, which is the connection. It's a single, bone in the skull between it connects the skull to the vertebral column, connects the skull to the neck. So it's like a trailer ball. We've got 40 of those so far from this site. Again, these animals only have one of those because they only have one skull. So, yeah. But chances are there's way more individuals here because their bones are everywhere.
Ah! We're going to town. Does anybody need anything?
So,
I'm
yeah.
not really town. We're going to the gas station.
Anywho, yeah.
It's going to be so much fun.
Did Josh ask for ice already?
No, but we can get more ice.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a general rule anytime we go to the gas station. Huh?
I just check the coolers and see. Maybe,
Cool. Anyway, Jeff and Alyssa are going to go to the gas station and asking if we need anything else.
Did you hear it? All right.
Ice is always a good thing to have.
One bag with beer coolers.
But yeah. And no, it's not like this ankylosaur is not a turtle ancestor. No. No, I don't want you to think that. This is a dinosaur. Turtles are not dinosaurs. This animal is very much a dinosaur. I'll show you in our dinosaur tree. The ankylosaurs are part of a dinosaur group called Thyreophora. So these are the ankylosaurs, like these guys, and the stegosaurs too. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with Stegosaurus with the big plates on its back and the spikes on its tail. Yeah. Here we go. I might as well just pull these out. Put them on the ground. So I don't have to keep going into here. But here we go. Thyreophora. So dinosaurs start right here. Every branch that comes off of this is a dinosaur by definition. Here's the Thyreophorans. We've got early guys like Scutellosaurus, then we get the Stegosaurs and the Ankylosaurs. So there we go. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Gastonia is a Thyreophoran, an ankylosaur in particular, and a polycanthine ankylosaur, getting even more particular than that. Here's a nice little diagram showing the skeleton of one of these critters. This is Gastonia burgii. The one we're digging up is not Gastonia burgii, it's Gastonia lori-mcwinnii, right here. This guy. So this is the original site, I think, where Gastonia lori-mcwinnii originally came from. Like when those specimens were named, I'm pretty sure they're specimens from here. So this is the site that this species was first discovered at, I think. Yeah, this one is 5 or 10 million years younger than Gastonia burgii, and in that time, you can tell by the comparison, these spikes along the tail get longer, these spikes near the shoulders, if they don't get longer, they at least get pointier. Yeah, so this animal would have been pretty prickly right here. So, yeah. This guy here, I guess, is Gastonia burgii. Maybe? Maybe not. Actually, the shape of the spikes here reminds me of Gastonia lori-mcwinnii. It's a better model than I thought. But yeah. Yeah, does that make sense? Set this down over here. Ugh. Oh yeah. Holy cow, it's 5:45 already. My goodness. Yeah. And nope, ankylosaurs are not related to Texas horned lizards. They just look similar, yeah. So that's a kind of lizard. I know people call them horned toads. They're not toads. They're not even frogs. They're not even amphibians. They're kind of lizard. Yeah. So they're not closely related to dinosaurs at all. Lizards are not particularly close to dinosaurs. In fact, among modern reptiles, they're like the farthest you can get from dinosaurs. Lizards are not close to dinosaurs. Lepidosauria, which is the lizards and the tuatara, yeah, among modern reptiles, they're the furthest you can get from dinosaurs. They're not closely related. Yeah. And were their hind ends not also covered in spikes? We haven't found enough. Yeah, that's a good question. We don't know enough about Gastonia lori-mcwinnii to know whether or not it had spikes along the back. We can guess that they might not have, just because I don't have evidence for this, but if you think about it, it might have made it difficult for them to reproduce. Might have gone in the way of mating. But I don't know. Other ankylosaurs do seem to maybe have big spikes back there, so maybe these guys did too. I don't know. Yeah. We don't know yet. We're still figuring that out. And so Spartan says, do we know why so many of this species apparently died in this location? So we're trying to figure that out. I was talking with Michael earlier. He's studying the taphonomy of this site. So trying to figure out, how did these bones end up here in the first place? Why are they accumulated here? What's going on with the lithology? Can we tell what kinds of rocks these are, how they were deposited? All of these things are important clues. And we're still trying to figure it out. Yeah. Like he was saying, if there's one hypothesis that might seem to make the most sense right now, it's that maybe these animals died in a drought, maybe a particularly bad drought. Maybe they were accumulating, kind of gathering near a watering hole or a dried up riverbed or something. They died during the drought, and then it buried them. But again, so much of this is guesswork at this point. It's one of the reasons why we're working this site this year, is we're trying to figure this out, Yeah. Yeah. And Dragonfly says we're the spiked predators. We do think that's the case for these guys, given that there were big, nasty, meat-eating dinosaurs around at the same time. We have evidence that there might have been something similar to like Utahraptor running around at this time and place. And then also you would have had big, what you might call carnosaur theropods, things like Carcharodontosaurs, Allosauroids. Something maybe kind of similar to Acrocanthosaurus that would have loved to have chowed down on these guys, except them being so spiky and well armored makes them a pretty hard target. So yeah. But that does seem to be, that is why we think they evolved such an impressive array of spikes and armor plates like this, is to protect themselves from predators. So yeah. Does that make sense? Let me get some more water. There we go. And does this area get flash floods? It does, Deathsaurus. I mean, nowadays it does. Not for the same reasons, maybe. Or at least, it's a coincidence that this area gets flash floods now. I'll say that. But yeah, down in Moab, Utah, which is just over yonder, maybe like 30, 40 miles that way. Yeah, Moab on the other side of Arches National Park. That's the backside of Arches that you're seeing on the horizon. Arches National Park. Yeah, they get flooding. The Colorado River will flood its banks during heavy rain. And I don't know, there's just so much, like, they call it slick rock around here, that when you get torrential rain, it doesn't soak into the ground, it just runs down into the Colorado River, and it does that through the town of Moab. So Moab is well known for flooding. Main Street in Moab will just get inundated by water and by sediment. Some years it's a known it happens. Yeah. Why so spiky? There you go, Crimson. Yeah. And Moab does get cooked a lot by flooding. Is that a joke there, Crimson? It flew over my head. Yeah. I mean, could the burial here be a result of a flash flood? It could very well be, Deathsaurus. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's, it's a pretty decent answer. Like, that very well could be the case. But, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to demonstrate that through geological evidence. And that's what we're working on. Yeah. Anywho, good stuff. And let me take a look at my battery levels here before things, I don't want this to die on me. Yep, we're getting a little low. I think it's about time to wrap up this stream. We've been going for almost 4 hours at this point? Yeah. Anyhow. And, a Centrosaurus situation. So maybe not that, Dr. Tara. I mean, it might be... We do have some indications that these animals were potentially on the surface after they died for a while before they got buried. So the force that buried them and the force that killed them are probably two different things. Maybe. Because we do seem to have some evidence that maybe these things were on the surface for a while. Yeah. They may have died of a drought, and then after they died, when the rains finally came, a flash flood buried them. But yeah. Anywho. Yeah. And I guess some predators are smaller than their prey. This is the case sometimes, but it's often not, E-Dragonfly. I'm guessing that the animals that are going after Gastonia probably would have been larger than them. That's my guess. In the new Walking with Dinosaurs from 2025, they have this whole dramatic thing between Utahraptor and Gastonia. I'm not necessarily convinced that Utahraptor is going after Gastonia. Like, they're probably going after prey that's smaller than them. idea of like pack hunting and dromaeosaurs either. It's based on fairly flimsy evidence, I think. Yeah, I know that's a big deal in popular culture. People love to talk about, oh, velociraptor, pack hunting. But we don't really have a lot of evidence for that. We really don't. In most cases, predators tend to be larger than their prey. Just because that's kind of how things work out. Yeah. I'm guessing that the dinosaurs that are killing and eating Gastonia, they're probably going after younger individuals, and they're probably larger than Gastonia. Yeah. Yeah. And a Utahraptor flipping over a Gastonia was silly. They were like 3 times heavier than Utahraptor. Exactly, Deathsaurus. And we'll talk about that in the future too. Yeah. My sore from standing around with a, whole streaming pack slung over it for almost 4 hours now. So we are going to wrap things up. It's almost 6 o'clock. Yeah. Question for all the crew. Excellent, Mizart Rules. Yeah, bring it tomorrow. Yeah. Was that meant to be a young one? I think so, Crimson, but also even a young one would be heavier than a Utahraptor. Really difficult to flip over. Yeah. Let's see who else we've got here on Twitch right now, whom we might raid into. Let's see, following. It is a Sunday afternoon. Oh, Paleostream is on. Let's go right into Paleostream. Why don't we? Here we go. Raid Paleostream. That'll be good. Yeah, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your attention. I know the internet is a big place. You could be just about anywhere right now. But I'm thrilled that a live dinosaur dig is something that would interest you, and I appreciate you sticking around and asking questions and just hanging out with us. It's a privilege to be able to do this kind of science outreach, and I appreciate everybody who makes that possible through not just their viewership, but their financial contributions. Thank you to everybody who subscribes, everybody who's gifted subscriptions, everybody who's cheered with bits, all of that. Everybody who's the museum here. It makes a difference, and we really appreciate it. Thank you, of course, to the moderators, mods. Thank you so much for everybody. Thank you for all of your hard work. What's going on in chat or all that stuff. Quite lean on you during this, so I really appreciate you, mods, for making these field streams easier on me. Yeah. With that said, let's go right into Paleostream. Paleo artist Joshua Knupe is, he's a German paleo artist who does paleo art live on stream. It's always a good time. Let's go tune in and see what he's up to. And I hope to see everybody for another stream tomorrow. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.